This has been another one. Lots of stuff to get into.
All
so
right.
let's get down
Apparently
to
there's
business.
no sound.
Yeah, I fixed that.
No sound?
Ah,
you
man.
fixed it.
Sound?
I forget that so often. Damn it. But we should be fine now. We should be fine now, guys. In the chat, let us know. But we should be fixed.
Yeah, now you're good. That's all right. I've let you know.
Okay, good.
God.
perfect.
You know, ever since I have this stream deck right here, I have I can do everything. I can mute us during the intro so that we still can talk. And then when we go live, I forget to turn the audio on.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Fox.
Too many buttons. Too many buttons for an old dude like me. So, man, now I have to welcome you again.
Yeah. Why not?
So
why not?
I'm gonna introduce to you as the leader of the marchers. So welcome. No, it's
Why
awesome, man, that you're here.
Yeah.
And Dutch, how have you been?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good as well. It's hard to come down off a really big game and try and find something else that you really want to play.
Yeah.
Which is my struggle right now. So I attempted to dive into Atomic Heart. It didn't click with me at all. So I'm looking for something else to play right now that might grab us, but I don't know what that is yet. So
I have something for you. We'll talk about that in a second, but let me first welcome everyone in the chat. I see a lot of familiar names here. Apologies again that you missed the first, 90 seconds or so of the show for me simply being stupid and forgetting to turn on the audio for everyone. So, but anyway, shout out to Mr. Joanna Dark. He says he thought Lulu got to me. Yeah, man, she's gone wild these days on the streets of Twitter. But we will get into that a little later. We have an awesome show for you guys today. It's a fantastic week to have Pong on because not only are we going to discuss, of course, everything that happened with ABK and Nintendo and GeForce Now, but we have also some other awesome news. We will talk, of course, about Forza Horizon 5, the DLC that just got announced 2 hours ago. We'll talk about, of course, Diablo 4. We will talk about raised Xbox prices. We'll talk about the Xbox family plan. And I have a list of 20 other topics we can talk about. It depends. It depends where the show will go. But first, we need to talk about the games we've been playing. Pong, what has kept you busy these days?
I'm doing my grazing as always, brothers. So I've been all over the place. Obviously, Hogwarts is in the permanent rotation right now. So
let me put on some gameplay for Hogwarts.
Yeah,
yes.
do that. It's a special game. There's no doubt about it. I spent in the first 4 days, I think I had something like 30 hours into it or something like that. So rare that a game comes along that takes
those are rookie numbers, Pong. You need to get those numbers up.
But I'm a grazer. So for me, that's big, right? That's big.
Yeah.
And then I trailed off of that a little bit, but it's still in my rotation. I'm still playing it. But then things come along, and there's been a lot of great sales actually lately. Some new interesting games that I haven't had a chance to play. So been doing that. Atomic Heart obviously came out. I've been excited for Atomic Heart. Unlike Dutch, it has actually grabbed me. It's got the flavors that I want now. I will caveat that I saw Colt, shout out to Colt Eastwood today. He posted a video where he did have a game-breaking bug. If I come across one of those, everybody knows if you don't respect my time in a game, no matter how much I'm loving you, I'm going to put you aside. So I have not come across one of those yet. So I'm absolutely enthralled with this world that Munfish has created. So been doing that. And then weirdly enough, I got a sprinkling of a billion other games, but weirdly enough, City Skylines is back in Game Pass.
What's happening? What is happening here?
Right. I never gave it a fair shot, but Paradox is one of my favorite publishers out there because I love strategy games. I love city builders. I love all that. So I love their games. They come with some really good ones. I never gave Cities a chance, but now the remastered version for current gen popped into that, and I got sucked in. I'm not lying. Like Pongville is growing fast, and I wound up actually going and purchasing the Mayor edition of that on sale. I found
I
good deal.
love it.
That's the way it works. So for everybody who says us Game Pass players don't buy games, we do. We do, and this game is one of those examples. So that's what I've been doing.
Oh yeah. Don't get me started. This was my pre-order week. I got a little bonus at work, so I pre-ordered like everything I want for the next couple of months. I pre-ordered Diablo 4, the super special deluxe edition.
Ultimate.
I pre-ordered Resident Evil 4 and Jedi Survivor. What else did I get? I'm forgetting one. Dutch, help me out. I'm forgetting one. Anyway. One more.
I'm trying to think. It was one. I remember you speaking about something, and I can't remember which game it was.
Yes, I know. I talked to you about this, but I'm playing.
You did. Like, I'm absolutely blank on it.
So, same here. Anyway, Dutch, what have you been playing, man?
Still, even though surprisingly, even though I've completely 100% Hogwarts, I've still dove into it because I've started a Slytherin playthrough. Where I've made myself Tom Riddle, and I'm going to be the Dark Lord himself.
Oh yes,
it's going to be absolutely just obliterate people through as a Slytherin. So, no, I'm just going to instead of because this last time, even though I did literally everything the game had to offer, it still just felt like I did it in like no time. And granted, compared to a lot of people, I have done it in no time, even though I've put like 68 hours into it. I just the world is so alive, and so I still feel like I've missed a lot, even though I've technically done what is all of the check marks that's available.
Every collectible,
like
everything, yeah.
So I'm just gonna chill out and play that kind of in dribs and drabs now. So instead of just playing that as my main, that one will be part of the rotation, kind of just going back and enjoying it, much like you do with The Witcher, etc. I think it's one of those games that I'll be able to go back regardless of completion and just enjoy.
Yeah.
Aside from that, of course, played some Age of Empires with yourself on the weekend, which was
yes,
awesome.
We did. It was fantastic.
Got treated by Boxenberger.
So did you practice?
Awesome,
did you practice your build order?
Yeah, I've practiced it. I've
Sweet.
been on Age 4 on PC. I haven't tried to implement that to Age 2 on console yet because it's a little bit different.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, just as long as you get that build order and a little bit, trying to keep the speed, because I think the speed was one thing you were like, come on, keep building and quickly. More villages, goddammit.
You know, you want to hear something really nerdy, but it is actually, if you really want to become good, in Age 4, there is like a little Java web browser based game to practice hotkeys in Age 4. So Control Q, for instance, builds a house. Yeah, and so they flash up like symbols what you want to build, and you have to press like the hotkeys quick enough, and then you get points, and then you can practice the more advanced stuff and things like that. It really helps to become faster, man. Hotkeys is the thing.
Yep. So I enjoyed that, and I still enjoy jumping into Age every now and again, and not as often as Boxy does, but I do enjoy it. It's a game I've grown up with, so naturally it's one I'm going to continue to love.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves, of course, as we play every Tuesday. So I enjoyed getting back into that with the guys there and streamed that. Attempted Atomic Heart. It wasn't so much the gameplay or the visuals or anything that put us off, because the visuals are really good. The gameplay is okay. It was the voice acting and things like that. Just God, they ground on me so bad. And that sex robot thing that you come across is just annoying as hell. I was like, no, shut up. So it's like beating us across the head with the same joke.
I love it. It shows the difference. I love it. I thought it was classic.
And this is why I haven't like slated it anyway, because of course everyone's got their own tastes. And if you're enjoying it, that's great. It just didn't click with us. It ground on us a bit. So yeah, unfortunately not Atomic Heart for me, but I have a lot of games that I have purchased recently that I want to get through. I still need to get through Sonic Frontiers. I did start that. I've got about 6 hours into Sonic Frontiers. I've beat the first guy. Went Supersonic for the first time. I'm into the sand desert world, so I might pick up and play that a little bit more now. And just wait for the next thing to come out. And of course, one of those we'll be talking about today, and that's the next Forza expansion, which is awesome. So I'm looking forward to talking about that as well today. But yeah, that's what I've been playing, Boxy. So what about you?
Hopping into Wolong next week?
Yeah, already pre-installed.
So do
yeah.
I. Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Definitely going to be interesting. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what have I been playing? I just remembered the other game I pre-ordered, and it's Metroid Prime.
That's the one.
That's the one. Exactly. I ordered the physical version, so it's already out on digital. Yeah, but I wanted to get the little cartridge. So yeah, man. What have I been playing? Of course, I continued in Hogwarts. I think I'm fairly close to the end now. I just arrived at the boss of the third trial. So I don't know how much there's after the third trial, but it feels like
you've still got a little bit to go.
I got a little bit to go then.
There's another trial
cool.
after the third trial. It's the final trial is a little bit shorter, but it's cool.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear that I still have a couple of hours left in the game.
It sounds a bit weird, but I think you've still got about 10 hours to go.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Sweet. So I might not be able to finish it then over the weekend. We shall see. We shall see. I love it. And then, of course, Age of Empires 4 Season 4 started, guys. Literally last Thursday during the show, the new season kicked off. So, and with every new season, you have to play like 5 ranked matches, and they're gonna rank you completely new. So, and I don't know what happened, man, Dutch, because you don't know who. Usually when you play ranked, you see, of course, you get ranked against someone in the same rank as yours. So when you play, I don't know, Silver 2, yeah, you play against the Silver 2 player. If you play Gold 3, you play against the Gold 3 player. But the first 5 initial matches, you have no idea what the other guys will rank at. So I won 3 matches, lost 2, and they ranked me in Gold 2. And Dutch and Pong, let me tell you, that's not the league I belong in. I'm winning every match now. I have to fight my way back to Platinum. But I'm literally winning all the matches at the moment because I played against the Gold 2. Then I ranked up to Gold 3 and I'm winning those as well. No, well, actually today there was one match I lost for some reason. But anyway, I'm
look at the disappointment in that one loss. Look at you.
I lost against the Gold 3. I lost against the Gold 3 player, man. But I'm not sure. He might have had the same issue because he was really destroying myself. It was like I didn't stand a chance at all. It was like within 10 minutes or so, and that's so he's probably also have to fight his way back to the league he belongs. But yeah, anyway, loving it. There are cool few changes. My favorite civilization in H4 are the English, and they made a few really cool adjustments. So usually whenever they made adjustments, they buff something, they I don't know, take stuff away, but this time they made English better, which is awesome because it was already my favorite civ. So I'm loving season 4. But with that, I know people don't want me to talk too long about H4. The World of Empires, man. The World of Empires. So, yeah. Man, this week was an exciting week. We have lots to talk about. But Pong, a lot of people approached me this morning, honestly, in the DMs. And I'm not even kidding. This is not a joke. Like, I had at least 10 DMs or so. And they all asked more or less the same question. Box, you have to ask Pong, what is going to happen if Starfield is not going to come out in March?
Oh, okay. Well, talked about this openly on shows. Again, as long as first half, I have 0 issues, right? March is a theory. March is a theory based upon facts from the past, the history. March 23rd is just a date that Steele came up with originally without any theory involved because it was a great, numbers date, which we know Todd likes, right? And then we found out more about that date and then developed our theory and solidified it. Now, I've hedged my March 23rd date with April this entire time, or almost the entire time I've hedged it, saying, look, if it gets pushed a little bit, because April is really good month to launch. It's kind of wide open still right now at this point. So April's fine. But overall, as we've all talked about through this whole speculation process, the first half is the most important piece. All we're trying to do is figure out when in that first half period, because they've doubled and tripled down on it, when that first half is going to happen, right? And you've got people who are Juners, right? That believe that June is the month, which is fine.
We have Sitten one of he's actually like a second half.
Yeah.
I don't know.
June, July at latest.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
June, July at latest. Something like that.
So nothing's going to happen because, again, as Mav and I talked about at length on one of our PM and the PM shows, this isn't about W's. This isn't about taking knees. This isn't about any of that stuff. All we did was say, listen, they've doubled down on the first half of it coming out, right? So where does it make sense in the first half? Now, there's some people who think it's unbelievable that there's no way that they would ever do this. Again, all you have to do is go back to Oblivion and you'll see it happen, right? 18 days from the time that they delayed it in November. They didn't announce the date until March 2nd. It came out March 20th, right? They've done it in the past. Todd likes to do this stuff. So again, for me, if it doesn't show up in March, who cares? No big deal. If it shows up in April, I'm still going to be taking victory laps because that's a lot earlier than a lot of people ever expected it could come out. But as long as it settles in sometime in the first half, and we know that May is pretty much locked out right now. I mean, with Redfall and all that, it just doesn't make sense. So you're talking about June, April, or March, right? That's where you got to kind of guess. Now, if it falls in the second half, I'm going to have some words because, again, if Forza's looking like it's already going to be pushed, you push 2 out of 3, I'm going to have some problems with that. But, again, I'll save that energy for when it happens. Right now, it's still the first half. We're just the Marchers are all just expecting it. March 23rd is a cool date. It lines up with a lot of things. There's more to it than that. It had nothing to do with the Super Bowl commercial and all that nonsense. Like I said, every great movement has subsects that build off of that and come up with crazy theories and take it to extremes. The core group of us never took it to the extremes. We never said, they're going to have a Super Bowl commercial. It's locked. It's dependent upon that. None of that nonsense that was going around. We just always thought that March 23rd was a great date. So if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's okay.
Yeah.
We're just having fun.
Indeed we do. Yeah. I was literally just so surprised by how many people wanted me to ask you this. So I wanted to get it out of the way in the beginning. So by the way, I'm in the belief of before Redfall.
Yes.
I believe so. Probably April, because, like you said, May and June really do not make sense at all. Just when you look at what other games come out that month, just doesn't make sense. So, but yeah, we shall see. We shall see, guys. Just a few minutes ago, 2 hours ago. Well, 2 hours ago. Forza Horizon 5, the new DLC was announced. Dutch, I know you love it. You're excited, man. It's coming on March 29th. The Rally Adventure. The official statement reads, feel the intensity of massive dust trails and deformable sand roads in 10 new cars and experience the bursting flames of anti-lag. Explore dramatic craters and abandoned quarry and an entirely smashable palm forest. So they are really doubling down on environmental deformation and destructibility, especially in the forest. So Dutch, you excited about this? Let us hear your thoughts.
Yeah, super excited.
Yeah,
super excited. It's Rally, the Rally expansion for Forza Horizon 1 was one of my favorite expansions I've ever done. Mainly because of how fast you felt driving that. It actually felt tight and very direct when you were driving in the Rally in the Rally expansion on Forza Horizon 1, it felt like you were just close to the edge of wrecking the car because you were going that fast in these courses. And it just felt absolutely amazing. And of course, back then, that was a very linear experience. There was no open world segment to it. There was no big open wide world expansion that they did. It was simply just the rally courses. You drove those rally courses, and that was it. And that was fun enough. But now to bring rally adventure in, where you have those tight, nitty-gritty rally races that are kind of close to the edge, but you've also got a whole new open environment, 10 new cars and other events to do, is definitely absolutely awesome. And to say that, like you've said, they've went all in on new deformation techniques and destructibility in there as well to kind of add to it, is absolutely awesome. So I can't wait. And again, I think there's a lot of people as well that are going to benefit from this, because a lot of people wanted to upgrade and did upgrade when they were getting that 4-day early access, and they were like, absolutely going to buy this immediately because it's like cheaper than what a full game would be, and I get to play it right now, so I'm going to do it. So there's going to be about 10-20 million people that are able to play that game, like the expansion immediately on March 29th. So it's going to be packed from the off. It could be one of their best expansions that they've done, in my opinion. But again, I'm a huge rally fan. I love rallycross, love rally. My two favorite motorsports. It's, I think, just the most exciting of them all, to be honest. It's just that thrill of being close to the edge and being able to wreck and destroy your car, unlike any other motorsport with like Formula One, etc., where it's just track racing and you're just going around on a track. I think this, with the environments and the speed and the kind of ferocity of rally, it's always going to win in my books. But I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the deformational things is what I was like. Oh yeah, I like that. I like when they bring in like new things that are not just little better textures or a little bit better lighting effects or something like that, but things that actually influence the environment, like better simulation, better destructibility, better physics, better, like these kind of things that kind of enhance the gameplay experience. So I absolutely love that. Pong, did you get the chance to see the trailer, and what are your thoughts on the new Forza DLC?
I did. Looks absolutely incredible. I will say I'm a little underwhelmed. I'd like Playground to break out and try new things, but I do like rally racing. I used to watch it all the time way back in the day. So I am a fan of that style of race, and of course it's Playground, so we already know it's going to be spectacular. I liked the chase helicopter aspect that they brought into this, along with your co-driver being up in the helicopter and calling out the turns and the bumps. And all that good stuff. I like the new UI that they created. I was watching that, and it was really cool. Obviously, that's been done a million times in other rally racing games, but it was cool to see it brought over into Horizon. So I'm definitely excited about this. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't hoping for something different. But at the same time, it's going to be of the highest quality because it's Playground. It is something that everybody's comfortable with. A lot of people, like Dutch, are extremely excited to see this come back again. Twitter was already talking about the potential of this being the rally. So this is going to be a big move. And this was long overdue for Playground and for Forza Horizon. So I'm glad. I almost thought they were going to hold it until E3. So I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they're bringing it out now. It's going to give us, something to look forward to. And it gives me a reason to re-download Horizon again. As a grazer, I put a ton of hours into Forza Horizon when it first came out, but I move on, right? But this gives me a reason to come back to it for a little bit.
Same here,
right? So I always
same
like that.
here. Yeah, man, absolutely. My only thing with this is of course the date itself, because I would have time more or less now after I finish Hogwarts. But then at the end of March, more or less at the same time, on March 24th, Resident Evil 4 comes out, and Starfield, no, Not Starfield. But and then in April, of course, we have like Jedi Survivor and Dead Island 2. Games like that come out. So it's gonna be a time thing. But other than that, man, the game looks absolutely stunning. As always, Forza Horizon 5 looks fantastic. The interesting thing is, at the end of the trailer, they only showed the logo of Series X and S and Steam. So are they dropping the cross-gen support for the DLC?
I was going to say, like, Globril reported that it was dropping it, but then retracted his tweet. So I don't know whether or not he's been given a heads up from someone at Playground to say, no, that's not the case, which is why he's retracted it, because he didn't comment on it afterwards. He didn't say anything about it. He just took it down. So I don't think it's the case. I think it's probably will be, and I just foresee the next Forza Horizon being completely current gen, as it were.
Yeah, of course.
I don't think, especially after already doing an expansion on Forza Horizon 5, it makes no sense to essentially finish Forza Horizon 5 with an expansion that nobody else can play but current gen. Because after this releases, that's it. Like, Forza Horizon 5 in terms of expansions is finished. It's done.
Yeah.
Then you might get some seasonal updates and things like that as they do, but you'll not get any more content, as it were, aside from a couple of cars, some events, and things like that.
I mean, they're gonna move over to motorsport now. That's the next big thing then for racing.
Then obviously Playground will probably associate a lot of the devs that worked on that over to Fable, help them complete the next Fable, or the Fable game,
the Fable.
And then they'll move on to Forza Horizon 6 or whatever it is that they do next. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good end, should we say, to this Forza Horizon, and it's absolutely humongous anyway. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think the only thing we're waiting for now is to see, right, okay, how big's this next area, and let's see a little bit more in-depth stuff on it, and what other events are we doing in here, and yeah, it's going to be fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun, man. You know what else is going to be fun this year, and it's going to keep us busy. For at least me, I don't know about you, but it will probably end my life for a while, and that's Diablo 4. And over the weekend, we got the announcement of a beta coming. So there will actually be 2 betas for Diablo 4 in March. The first is over the weekend of the 17th. And then the second one is the weekend after, which is going to be a public one. The first beta, the first weekend on the 17th, is only for pre-orders. So guys, where do you stand with Diablo? Are you looking forward to the beta and the game? Pong.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. And it should also be mentioned that your progress from the first weekend, if you are in that, will carry over to the second weekend. And if you do, I think level cap is 25, I want to say. And they hinted, Rod Ferguson came out and hinted on Twitter that if you do hit the level cap between the 2 weekends, they are going to give you in-game item when the full release happens too. So there is a little bit of bonus for participating in this beta. I'm definitely looking forward to this. Diablo is my second most anticipated title this year outside of Starfield. Now, that's why I have a problem with Starfield coming in June. Because I'll drop Diablo in a heartbeat if Starfield comes out. I want a couple months. That's why I'm really hoping it comes out early, is because I want a couple months before Diablo drops. Because Diablo is going to be a time sink. I'm super excited. I want to get in on the beta. I was hoping to get some Starfield information, kind of judge if I want to hop into the beta, if I want to pre-order. Again, budget gamer here, so I don't pre-order everything, but Diablo is definitely one I would pre-order. I'm still looking at that Ultimate Edition, and I do want to get it to hop into the beta if I know I'm not going to have to worry about Starfield messing up my playtime with Diablo. So, that's where I'm at it, but I'm super hyped. Diablo, they're bringing it back to Diablo 2. This is the return. People forget how big Diablo is because Diablo 3 didn't hit the way that they had hoped it. It's still going.
It's still going. It's still massive. Didn't they report about above 40 million player?
Yes.
Something.
It's like the lowest hyped 40 million players ever in a game, just because of how it didn't come out the right way, or initially. They've done a lot to improve it, but now that
It's
they're bringing this one
fantastic,
back to
man.
Diablo 2, they're going back to the dark, gothic
Style.
it's going to be this is going to be gigantic. This
Yeah,
is going
absolutely.
to be huge. I can't wait. So.
And I cannot wait to see how they will handle the shared world aspect. I love that idea. Honestly, for Diablo, it makes so much sense that you have like this shared overworld, and then when you wander into your dungeon, you go your own way or with your party. But man, Dutch
eight people battling bosses. Come on, that's gonna be amazing.
Awesome. It's gonna be fantastic, and I cannot wait for that beta. Unfortunately, I'm only able to play the first weekend. The second weekend, well, I wouldn't call that unfortunately. One of my best friends is turning 40, and he booked like a cabin in Austria. So we are a couple of guys traveling to Austria for the weekend, and in a cabin. A lot of beer, pizza.
Why not play Diablo in the cabin?
Honestly, guys, real life sometimes just kicks ass. So yeah, it's awesome. I cannot wait. So I will only be online for if people want to join and play with me. Diablo beta 17th, the weekend. That beta. Absolutely, I love that. Dutch, are you available for the beta?
I'll be available for the second weekend. I will not be pre-ordering the Ultimate Edition.
You can play the beta even if you pre-order the Standard Edition.
Yes. Yes.
We shall see. We shall see. Then we shall see. No, I'd definitely be playing one of the weekends anyway. Thoroughly looking forward to Diablo. This one much more than the previous. Of course, I played the previous with yourself a little bit. But I think the earlier Diablo 2, was the better game by a long shot. It's not to say 3 was bad. 3 was still good. But this Diablo 4 looks like it's both taken it back and kind of expanded on that with this huge open world, as you've mentioned as well, Pong. Those dynamic bosses that just appear out of nowhere that everyone can battle at the same time. It just looks a little bit more kind of in depth. A lot more to do, a lot more of a vibrant world. It's not all just dungeons like 3 kind of always felt dark and kind of in the dungeon a bit. This one feels like it's got this big outside world you can kind of explore, which is feels a little bit nicer to me. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing what they've created, how visually striking it is, because it looked beautiful as well when I saw it last time. So yeah, definitely going to be jumping into the beta. It's going to be good.
Mounts. They're introducing mounts, customizable characters this time, and the customizable characters are now going to be in the cutscenes.
In the cutscenes, which is awesome.
Yes,
yeah.
It is. Yep, agreed. There's a lot more to this, Dutch. You're absolutely correct. This is going to be a big game.
Yeah, and you can say about Blizzard games what you want. One thing they always got right is post-launch support. Like when you look at these games, they are all supported for years and years with massive amount of content. And they said, well, this is the one that has the most endgame content ever at launch from any of their games. So yeah, man, I'm super excited to play that myself. And everyone who has played it, like the bigger outlets, and everyone was like very positive about it. And everyone said like, yeah, this has the Diablo 2 vibes we all wanted to have, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
We haven't had a Diablo since 360. My
360.
God, it's crazy.
It's crazy,
it's crazy,
right?
To think that's when 3 came out. Yes.
You know, Pong, that's why I always say about the entire Activision Blizzard King deal. The thing is, if you're not a Call of Duty fan, you're really not getting much out of this. Because like if Call of Duty is not your game, what are you getting? Like Blizzard brings out every 15 years or so a Diablo.
Right.
And that's it. Like on console at least. On PC side of things, of course, you got World of Warcraft and stuff like that. But on the console side of things, you're not getting much outside of Call of Duty, man. But we will get to that in a second. You know what else happened today? Mikami-san, Shinji Mikami, he was the studio head of Tango Gameworks, left the company. So that was
leaving. He's still got a few months.
yeah, he is going to leave.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Indeed. Of course, like whenever something like that happens, you see the drama out on the Twitter streets, Dutch. And in reality, it was like they knew he is going to leave the company, and they have prepared for a smooth transition for a long time, whatever a long time is. But it didn't come as a surprise. So, man, is Tango Gameworks in trouble, and will we see Evil Within 3?
Yeah, personally, yes, absolutely. I think the reason it's going to be a few months yet is because he's going to see out the development of his own game. Now, we saw Hi-Fi Rush drop out of the blue, and obviously that was directed by John Johannes. And what a great first game he's made off his own back. So I think even if you just look at the quality and how well that dropped, like literally no performance issues, not a drop of bother. It was silky smooth, like 4K 60, just like you couldn't have asked
no bugs,
for a better
no nothing.
game.
Yeah,
exactly. So I think if that's anything to go by, and they've got talented guys like John Johannes at the studio, that could potentially take over going forward, then there's absolutely no issues there. Shinji Mikami's obviously done a very good job with mentoring and tutoring all of these guys internally, to the point where they're able to create these awesome experiences as a side project. And I think, it's the legacy of himself that obviously everyone is going to miss there. But it was no shock. He's mentioned for a long time. Back in 2020, in an interview, he said if he could, he'd direct one more game before he retires, and then he'd retire. So I think what we'll see and why they've stipulated it's in a few months he's going to kind of be moving on. I think in a few months, of course, looking at the E3 kind of time frame there, you'll see that next Tango Gameworks game being announced, and that's probably going to be the fight finale of Evil Within. Yeah, I think that's going to be the last one. Yeah. And that'll be his final game that he directs, and then he's gone. I think that's his way out. That's it sounds from what he said as a personal objective is that he wants to direct a single last game before he goes out. If he's been preparing for a transition and leaving the company, I don't think at this stage in his career, if he had plans on retiring, he'd move elsewhere, make one game, and then retire. That doesn't sound like that sounds very strange to do that.
I know where you're coming from. Pong, what do you think? Is there something to this?
Yeah, it's a big loss. We can't put it any other way. But like you guys said, he's talked about it. Now, he also did interviews where he talked about how much he enjoyed mentoring the new devs coming up, and that was kind of the role that he kind of had transferred himself into this stage in his career and his life, that he was mentoring younger developers. And so I had hoped that maybe, with the acquisition and stuff and kind of that, pressure off and all that kind of stuff, maybe he had found that role and that he was going to stick around for a little bit longer. Obviously, that's not where we're at. Obviously, he's announcing that he's going to be leaving in a few months. So it's a big loss. Shinji, has been huge. And I would have loved to see him stick around for a little bit longer, at least. But we've got to come to terms that a lot of these guys are the guys that we all know, which are few and far between. We don't know devs like we know movie stars and directors of movies and all that kind of stuff, other entertainment industries. They're so few and far between that when you hear about them leaving, it's kind of a bigger deal to us. But Todd Howard, Tim Schafer, they're all starting to get to that point where eventually it's going to happen. And Shinji's calling his shot here. Now, there was that... I don't remember how long ago Shinji talked about a sci-fi game that he had interest in making at one point, outside of the horror genre. So I'm curious if this is a full retirement, or maybe, he's found somebody to fund one last game for him. Maybe his baby.
The actual retirement game.
Yes. Yeah, the retirement
one last
game.
thing.
Yes. it will be curious to see that, but maybe he is just riding off into the sunset. Maybe he'll, go and teach or consult with studios and do that kind of role. That's always going to be available for somebody like him who has obviously earned it. So I am curious to see what he does next, if this is a final goodbye or not. But at the end of the day, I think that Tango Gameworks is in a good position. I would love to again see him stick around a little bit longer to help with that influence over in the East that Microsoft and Xbox are looking for. To have his name out there is kind of a big deal, but I think he's positioned Tango directly in a good spot, and I don't think we have to worry about it. Whatever the line of succession is, whoever does take that role, if it is John Johannes, I don't know. He's a younger guy. Maybe he is going to fill that role. Maybe they've got somebody else in mind. I think whoever it is going to be ready to take on that role. And Tango, we can look forward to a lot of games coming up. But I do like Dutch's thought that maybe right around E3 time or at E3, they do announce the Evil Within 3. And that is his final project. And he's got it far along enough now where he's comfortable stepping away at this point. But that will be his last game with his last name on it for the foreseeable future, or maybe forever. So I'm cool with it. It is a big loss, though.
It is absolutely. I would just simply be surprised if we see that game as early as this E3, because they just released Ghostwire Tokyo last year and Hi-Fi Rush obviously this year in January. So having like a third game more or less ready to go when they show it at E3 this year, I'm not sure, man. But I would definitely love to see that. Let me briefly shout out John TJ, who sends in a $2 super chat. He says, "Hey guys, Sony is screwed." Yeah, according to Lulu, they are, most certainly, and it's their own fault. But we will talk about that just in a few. Yeah, Pong, you summarized the entire Mikami-san thing perfectly. It's a great loss for the industry, but at the end, like you said, all these legends are not getting any younger. Yeah, the people that have been making the games 30 years ago that we grew up upon, they are going to retire one day or another. The same will be for Todd Howard at some point. Yep. Although I still think he's gonna make like games until he's really done it. I think but yeah, you never know. It is interesting, man, because this week we have I don't know if you guys seen that, we had Shigeru Miyamoto, the obviously had
who's that?
Never heard of that guy. Yeah. He was asked whether he wants to work on another Mario before he's going to retire. He says he has no plans to retire, and they are always working on Mario, but nothing to share just yet, is what he said. And he also said he's still looking forward to work with new technologies. So his quote was, "I'd love to work with the new technologies given the chance." So. Yeah, but he's also not getting any younger. Well above 70 now, in his 70s. So, yeah, it will happen eventually.
It's and every studio head and developer, etc., is going to be come to a point where they, or if they're financially able, they will retire earlier. Because sometimes it's not a case of just, okay, I enjoy going to work and doing X, Y, and Z. It's a case of I'm going to step back and take time and enjoy family and friends and free time and go and visit other people in studios and things like that, and just enjoy the hobby I've actually helped create over these last years, and be able to just step back out of it and say from a different perspective and enjoy early retirement where they can. Whereas some just love the involvement of it that much that they just never want to retire, and we've seen that kind of in countless places, including kind of sports as well as video gaming, where they just do not want to let go. And there's going to be like Miyamoto, who just doesn't want to let go. He's probably going to be like 80, and then Nintendo's going to kind of force him out the door. Take retirement. But again, you mentioned Todd Howard. God knows how long he's going to be around for a while yet.
Yeah.
We know Phil Spencer's
Yes.
arching to move away from it sooner rather than later.
What do you guys think on Phil? Because like in these super strong leadership positions, like 10 years in such a position is already like a lifetime. Yeah. So
he's already overseeing the gaming side of Microsoft as a whole now, as opposed to just Xbox. So he's already widened that net.
Yeah.
So I think he's end up in a really senior position, but it's going to be far less hands-on involved than any other position he's ever had. So it's going to be a lot less stressful in that respect for him. I think it's much like Shinji Mikami. He's probably going to be trying to make sure he's got the right person coming in below him next that takes over that role. That's not going to be easy to sort out because you need the right person with the right vision as well, or the one that believes in the vision you've already put in motion.
Into place. Yeah.
But there's so many. If you have a look across the studios now, like that, they're just not going to be there forever. Like Cory Barlog's probably not going to be there for another 15 years. I'd give him another 10 as well. Like he's getting on a bit. Then you have a look internally at all the different studio heads. Like Rod Ferguson's not going to be there for too much longer. You could go through them all and you'd be thinking, yeah, we're going to have to kind of part ways with some of these visionaries at some point. And some of them might just lose love for it and step back, like we saw with Cliffy B, who just didn't like the toxicity of the gaming sector anymore and just wanted away from it. Like he didn't think he'd had it in him to jump back in again.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're all going to have the reasons, but we're going to have to come to terms with these big guys. Like it's not going to be like a shock loss every time. They're going to have their own reasons to do that. But yeah, it's sad that Mikami's deciding to take his step back now, but he's fully warranted it after so many years in the industry. He's very much warranted an early retirement, so hope he enjoys it.
And I think Phil will want to get Microsoft and Xbox into the position that he envisioned originally. If that's the ABK deal goes through, let's assume that. He gets ABK integrated into Microsoft, which is going to take a few years with that big of a process. I think he'll still be hands-on through all of that, and I think he gets the next gen launched. And then at that point, as long as they're in the position that he always envisioned, let's say they've got everything kind of smoothed out, everything's working the way they thought, Game Pass is growing, I think that's when you see him take that senior role, like Dutch said. Transition somebody in, but I think he gets the next gen launched first, and then that's when he steps away and says, my time here, my job is done, everything's good, we're in the position we want, go ahead and transition.
I mean, if that's the case, he would be in that position for a very long time. Like we're talking next gen, let's say 2080 28 or something like that.
2080
2080 No, 28.
He's like 100 years old.
But no, I just think that would be the way. This was such a huge undertaking that when he took over, that it would kind of warrant him being in the position for longer than a lot of people might expect, or even he expected, because it's been such a massive turnaround that he's kind of had to help orchestrate through all this, and I think that's why. Beginning of next gen. That's my gut feeling. I could be completely wrong. Maybe he steps away on E3. Says I'm done.
I don't think it's that quick.
No.
I don't think it's that quick, but I'm not sure if he actually gonna be the head of Xbox for the rest of this gen. Just a gut feeling. Like I said, in these ultra high leadership positions, being there like 10 plus years is already a very long time. I feel like the ABK deal and a little transition phase, a year or two to get ABK properly installed within the Xbox organization. And then when hopefully his vision for Xbox takes off, I think he's gonna transition over to either, I don't know, a Sarah Bond or Matt Booty or someone we might not even have heard of. When like this continuous stream of first-party content is coming into Game Pass, and the everything we've been waiting for what feels like forever. When those kind of things happen, so in, I don't know, 25, 26, something like that, maybe around the mid-gen refresh launch, Pong. Just assuming here, of course. We shall see. We shall see. You know what else happened in the Xbox world this week? In Sweden, Microsoft raised the price of the Xbox console. The Series X price was increased, and so they did this basically the same what they did like in Japan a few weeks ago, and converted over from Swedish crowns to US dollars. That would be around $600 US dollars that you have to pay now for the Series X. So I wanted to discuss this with you guys. What do you think? Will we see that transition over to other countries and regions? Now we have already had it in Japan and in Sweden. Will we see a transition, an increased console price for Xbox?
I think it just depends on the situation of the market that they're in. The only markets that they've increased the price in so far is due to changes in currency conversion. That'd be Japan, Sweden, and there's one more, India. And all three of those had changes in the value of the currency, significant enough in order to warrant a price change. So it depends on the market. I think if markets have severe degradation on the value of the currency, then yes, we'll see price increases. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be case by case. It's not going to be just a blanket rollout. I think they're going to be trying to, essentially what they're doing is just trying to delay the inevitable as much as they possibly can, and to that point becomes impossible to maintain, in which case then they'll increase the price. And that's what they've done in these markets. They've got it to a point where they've went, unfortunately, because of the degradation of the cost, the currency, will have to increase the price. So, I mean, it's inevitable. Sony just went with a blanket approach and just, okay, everybody's getting the price increase like immediately.
Except in the US.
Except the US. Yeah.
Even though the dollar dropped as well as just like the euro. Both currencies dropped heavily after the Russian invasion. So
yeah, I mean, it's. I think it's the thing is with the US is it is their major market.
Yeah.
Their main market, and that's the one they're also trying to win, because believe it or not, for the US, that's pretty much still in the balance when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation. In Europe, it's not. In Europe, it's heavily PlayStation. In Japan, it's almost all
80 to 20% is what we learned this week. Yeah. Little spoiler for the next topic, but
exactly. Where it's actually closer in the US, where it's more 60-40, which is very close. And they don't want that gap to shrink. So naturally they're going to say, okay, we'll bite the bullet in the US because that's the one we need to maintain. The others, we've got such a ground, we can afford to increase that market and make some money back up there. Whereas Xbox are just on going for the blanket approach. They're waiting for the bitter end, and then, okay, right, we'll do it when it is necessary and not before.
Yeah. Pong, what do you think?
Dutch covered it very well. I mean, I'll keep the same energy I did with Sony, even though this is not a blanket move. I don't like it. I never will as a consumer. Again, you guys are out here with record-breaking profits. Sure, you can come out and say, oh, we're down 13%. Yeah, you're down off pandemic levels, which were astronomical, okay? Yeah. You guys are making the money, and I don't agree. Like, if this was something that we knew was going to be around for, the next 10 years, like this was going to be a problem. We were going to have inflation. We were going to have all this. Fine. Eventually, I understand every business has got to do it, but I don't like it as a consumer. I don't like punishing certain people in certain countries, whether it's blanket or not. And then, like Dutch said, oh, but we're having a real competition here, so we're going to eat the money here. Well, eat the money for your other consumers. You're not selling that many in Sweden anyway. Yeah. You're not selling that many in Japan anyway.
Yeah.
Eat the cost.
Take the bullet there and
take the bullet. Like I said, I understand numbers. I understand the finances. I understand what's behind it and why They say they must do this. I get all that, but as the consumer, nah, this ain't cool. But Dutch covered the rest of it perfectly. They're doing what Sony did. Sony just did it all at once and said, nah, we're just going to cover, 80% of the world outside of the US. That's fine. We're just going to do it all at one time. Whereas Microsoft is taking a much more surgical approach to this so that it doesn't hit all at one time. And so that
it doesn't make the big
news,
headlines.
Yeah, it doesn't make the big headlines. Yeah, exactly. They're doing it much better that way. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
it could be. It could be as well, because again, and as much as I agree, especially for the markets like Sweden and Japan, there really wasn't a need to do it, man. They haven't, as you say, they're not selling enough units for it to matter on the bottom line.
Right.
So they could have really kept those prices down, because they're not making anything anyway in those markets. And it would have benefited them on a different scale. It would have got more consumers in there. On the flip side, the approach also means that if there isn't a requirement to increase the prices, if the markets do stabilize over the next 6 months and start reducing, then there will not be price increases. Right. And again, they've said they will attempt to hold off on price increases for as long as they can. Mm-hmm. Again, if the market does recover over the year, then it could be a case if we don't see them at all in some of these better European countries or in Western countries. So there's positive and negative, as I do agree, of course, overall on the sentiment that we don't want to see price increases at all. But from a business perspective, I think that approach where you're doing it on market by market, depending on how it is going, means that might not necessarily ever see that price increase if the market recovers. Whereas Sony's approach was just simply, okay, the market's in the crapper right now, so we're just going to do it.
Much more tactile, much more surgical for a reason. Yes, absolutely, Dutch. Good point.
Very good. Both of you made very great points, so there's really not much I can add, except I feel sorry for the guys in Japan and, of course, in Sweden. Let's hope that it only stays in these countries and not more consumers are being affected by this. You know what else Microsoft rolled out? Like, Pong, what did you say? Surgically? Like, is Family Plan. And 6 more countries this week got added to have the Xbox Game Pass Friends and Family Plan added. That is, of course, where's my list? So far, we only had it in Ireland, in Colombia, and now it's also available in New Zealand, South Africa, Chile, Hungary, Israel, and Sweden. So those are the 6 countries that also got the Xbox Game Pass Family Plan. Guys, I wonder why they do it this way. I don't understand it, because I get when you test things, where you have to test a server, where you have, I don't know, like when we talk about game launches, I said this multiple times. I find it so weird that we all have to move to New Zealand on the day the game comes out. But I understand why they do it, because of course they want to avoid like a sudden server load and things like that. But Game Pass is already available in all these countries, and now they are rolling it out like it's literally more or less. I know there's always a little bit more to it, but to us it seems like it's literally just making another tier, flipping the switch, and there you go. You have Game Pass Family Plan. So what do you guys think? Why is this slow rollout of the Family Plan coming?
I think it's down to, and this is slightly different than the other Game Pass tiers. On this one, you have to go onto the Xbox website and assign certain accounts for the email address, assign those email addresses to the account in order for them
just
to
like you have to do it with Office 360, like for ever. Yeah, I did that, I don't know, 6 years ago.
It could just be that they want to kind of maintain any or ensure that any issues with regards to assigning accounts with regards to the Game Pass rollout, and whether or not, for instance, in the first month or so of having that out on these accounts.
I don't know, Dutch, because what you need to do is you need to do the exact same process like you do it with the 360. So it's linked with Office 365. So what you need to do is you need to assign like your family member, my wife, So she's part of that, and she automatically gets all the benefits because it's now attached to her account. So that was already available from a server structure and from a technological piece. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. Pong, do you have a theory?
The only thing I can think of that might require testing and require some form of monitoring might be that association part of things. With regards to how it fares with Xbox, yes, it could. Again, on PC, it's much easier with, like you've mentioned, Microsoft 365.
Yeah.
But from an Xbox Game Pass perspective, like I've noticed a few times, like even if you change your password once, for instance, and your friend doesn't have your password, that is doing the game share thing with you, and then it boots you out, and you've got to redo it all again, and they can't access it, etc. And they might be having to figure a way around. Okay,
That
so
could
what happens
be.
if you change your password? Does it then boot off everybody else from your game sync?
Yeah.
Probably just real finite things, and they're just trying to find these what would be otherwise classed as these really hard to emulate situations. And that's what we kind of have, why we have beta testing and alpha testing in video games as well, of course, is because they're trying to emulate things that they can't replicate in development cycles. And that's kind of, I think, the approach that they're going for with this is just slightly wider and wider margins. They had 2 previously, now they've got an additional 6. And now, and again, I think once they've got 8 countries, I think that's a large enough pool to monitor. Then they'll kind of just blanket approach it. But I still think we'll see it this year as a wide release. I think we'll probably see it at E3. I think it would be the best time. We originally said maybe at the developer direct, but I think E3 would be probably the best time to start rolling this out this year.
Yeah.
But again, I already know, and the only thing that I dislike about Friends and Family is that you're limited to anybody within your country, and you can't assign anybody outside of your country, which is a bit of a disappointment.
So we can't do it together, man. You can't jump on my family plan.
So I've got like let's have a think. Maybe 4 of the 5 accounts that I would add already selected in my head, so I know who I'm adding to mine, and I'll definitely be doing to it. Because it's only like a couple of extra quid more than I'm currently paying, and it makes sense. That means like everybody can play. My brother being included will be one of them that I'll put on there and save him a bit of cash, and he gets permanent access to it. So, yeah, it's gonna be awesome when we get it. And again, for them, it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a really hard metric to track, like how many friends and family plans we've got, and how many of these people are actually playing on Game Pass Friends and Family. So it's gonna be a strange one, but it's awesome nonetheless. Like, I'm not complaining from a consumer standpoint. It's going to be great.
Absolutely.
Not our problem, Dutch. Not our problem.
Yeah,
exactly.
Don't worry about that. Dutch pretty much covered it. I had the same thoughts that they must be, number one, making sure as they add more countries that there isn't bugs or hiccups that do pop up, that a mass rollout would flood their customer service and cause all sorts of issues on the back end. Like, that's the only thing I could think of. And then the other one, which Dutch did allude to at the end here, was the marketing campaign for it. Maybe they are planning a much bigger rollout come around E3. That was always my guess. Some people argue with me that E3 isn't the place for that. I think this is a big enough deal that if they did say, okay, rest of the world opened up, including our biggest territories are now available. Like, that's a big announcement. And you start a marketing campaign that's really heavily advertising the fact that, hey, you get in, you can invite 4 others onto your plan. It's going to cost 1 low monthly payment, as long as you're all within the same country. I think that could be a bigger sell at that point through a nice marketing campaign that would start with a drop of, hey, our biggest territories are now opened up to this. So those were my initial thoughts. Dutch pretty much covered it all. So
yeah. I mean, I think E3 definitely would make sense. You have the stage, you have the audience, and the new big thing for Game Pass is gonna be fully revealed, announced, and available for everyone during that show. Would be definitely a great thing, especially when you then have like games like Forza, and you can say, hey, because we all know Forza is gonna be in August or September. You can play games like that. So yeah, we shall see.
Starfield. 5 of you can play Starfield.
Starfield is out by
month.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
By
That's what I'm
E3,
saying.
so
You throw that in there. Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying. You throw that in there. Like, hey, five of you can play Starfield for $25 for a month. I mean, that's crazy. That's insane. That's insane value. Yeah.
The value is really insane, especially when you think about what people are gonna do, like game share today with one guy pays and he gets to share with 4 buddies. Like that value right there. That's crazy. That's really crazy. So I know 2 with that I will probably add. I have 2 more spots available. On my family plan, so yeah, we will see. We will see, guys. I think it's time to talk about the big news item of this week. A lot of things happened in the ABK things, and it's crazy that even after more than a year of the announcement, there's barely a week going by where we don't talk about it to some degree, at least. I know we are all getting tired. And yeah, Pong, you're not getting tired. But most...
I'll pick up the slack for Dutch. Don't worry, we're good. Let's
good.
Go.
Good. Because for the most part, we have like smaller news bits, but this week was like crazy when it comes to the news related. So what happened? Multiple things. We'll talk about the Nintendo and GeForce Now thing in a second. There was a big hearing at the EU. The EU invited everyone to present their case. Of course, Microsoft was there, but also a lot of other companies. EA was there, Google was there. There were a lot of Nvidia was now there. A lot of competitors, and of course Sony. Sony got the double. By the way, fun fact: Sony got double the amount of time to explain their case than every other what they consider competitors like EA and Nintendo and everyone there. But anyway, so after that, Brad Smith, vice president of Microsoft, gave a little presser, and we got some very interesting things from that. Of course, he explained what Microsoft explained to the regulators. So he was looking at the console market, and he said, on a global scale, they have Sony has a market share 70% versus 30% of Xbox, and now a lot of people already went out and said, well, they forget Nintendo. Yeah, they already explained that. People just didn't pay attention. They explained that they were just taking what the FTC and other regulators have been saying, that this is the competitor, that's the market. Nintendo isn't the market. So they just used what the definition of the console market from the regulators. And so they said, well, on a global scale, we have a market share of 70%, Sony versus 30% from us. They said in Europe, it's 80% versus 20%. And in Japan, it's 96 to 4%. So, yeah, he asked the question, do you want to kill a deal and cement Sony's position, or do you want to open this, and he referred to Call of Duty, up to 150 million more people? Those were the questions. He also was on fire with if Sony is ready to sign a deal, I've got the contract right here, and he hold up very symbolic that little paper sheet. So guys, yeah, console market share. Honestly, I was kind of surprised that it's 80-20 in Europe. I would have thought it's like 90 to 10% or something. So what did you guys make of this presser from Brad Smith? Pong. Go ahead. I know you have so much to say about this, man.
No, Brad Smith is worth every single penny that Microsoft is paying this guy. This guy holds the room like few other execs. He knows exactly what he's doing. Obviously, he's an attorney by trade. He comes prepared. He comes with the facts, and he's laying them out to you as if he is in the court of law. And he did that yet again to the presser, and obviously answered all the questions on the fly. Opened it up to questions. He was taking questions and being open and transparent. None of it was prepared. It was just, him one-on-one with these guys. Again, shows the level of confidence that he and Microsoft and Xbox have coming out of this. And obviously that was backed by the deals that they announced with Nintendo and Nvidia, which was huge. Again, these are the chess moves. That's why this hasn't gotten old to me. This is fascinating. We don't get this. This isn't normal business dealings that we never hear about. This is something that's out in the open. Sure, you can say there's a lot of ridiculousness. I don't disagree with you. There's ridiculousness from everybody involved in this, and this presser was just part of it. Like, this is what needs to be done. It's already been made into a spectacle. And so Brad Smith came out and made the points. And the biggest points were that, hey, regulators have given us the guidelines as to what our competition is. Our competition is Sony. Sony is the loudest voice against us. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to admit we suck versus Sony everywhere in the world outside of the United States where it's closer. We suck. And you want to talk about big time? Look at Japan, 96-4. Let's talk about that. Sure, you can say it's a small market, but it's a bigger. It goes to the bigger idea of where they stand, and the idea that just because Microsoft, and when I'm talking about Microsoft Corp as a whole, is a $1 trillion company, that doesn't mean that Xbox is dominating. That doesn't mean it's an automatic W for them whenever they do something like go make an acquisition like this. That's not the case. They have a huge hill to climb in a lot of areas around the world, and that's what they made their points and sold their case on. Listen, sure, we're making this acquisition to help us, but we're making this acquisition in response to our position, which is very small compared to our main competitor. And that's what we need to do to go ahead and compete. You guys talk about competition all the time. That's what we're trying to do here. This is our way to try to make gains, to try to start climbing that mountain. It doesn't mean that we automatically take over. Sony's got this huge lead in most areas, right? And Brad Smith broke it down and explained it. And again, with the chess moves, kind of taking away all the concerns, or not all, but let's say a vast majority of the concerns that were presented to them, whether they were real concerns or not. You can argue that till you're blue in the face. Cloud gaming may not, it's nowhere near its final form. It's in its infancy stage, but there was concerns presented, right? There was concerns presented to them. So what do? They go out to the next biggest cloud provider for games in Nvidia and say, hey, we know that you guys haven't been getting Activision Blizzard games. Guess what? We'll cut you a deal. If this deal goes through, we'll give you those Activision Blizzard games. No problem. And then you know what? Meanwhile, while we're waiting for that, hell, our games are coming too. Let's go ahead. Just starting today, we'll start dropping Xbox PC games right into Nvidia, because
honestly, sorry, I have to jump in here real quick.
Yeah, go.
That was definitely something I was super surprised about. I thought, well, we knew about Nintendo already. They said they have the intention to bring Call of Duty to the Nintendo, but to bring the game, or their entire game library, not just Call of Duty, but the entire PC Game Pass library to GeForce Now, which is literally the only competitor they have in the cloud gaming space, is something I did not expect them to do. I simply did not. But that's where I feel like a lot of us gamers sometimes fall short in their way of thinking. So if they wouldn't see that as a business chance to make even more money, they wouldn't do it.
Right.
So that was just truly a surprise. But sorry, I cut you off, man.
No. Jump in anytime, Box. I'm used to open mics. We're good. I just thought it was a fantastic move, and I think that the Nintendo move solidified because some people, you can dismiss it all you want. It's still a big move because it does show direct intent. It's not just words. It's saying, no, we're serious about this. And again, we've had this discussion ever since this acquisition was announced. Are they serious? Is Call of Duty on that Minecraft level? Do they think of Call of Duty like its own platform, that they are going to expand it out? And from the beginning, they've been saying yes, but obviously people question that. And saying that we're going to bring it to Nintendo, whether or not you think that's realistic with the current hardware, or whether you think that they're just saying that because, well, a year, 2 years, Nintendo's going to have a new it doesn't matter. It shows true intent from Microsoft to say, no, we want more people playing these games, specifically Call of Duty, since that's the one that everybody's made a big deal out. Now, I will say this, Brad Smith's initial tweet where he said Xbox games and then Activision Blizzard, including Call of Duty, to Nintendo. And now he kind of backtracked off of that when he had an interview later and said, no. Nintendo's happy with just Call of Duty right now. I think that he got ahead of himself, but I think that he meant that too. I think they're going to look at bringing other Xbox games to Nintendo as well down the road because, again,
I mean, they've done it before. Like,
right.
Xbox exclusive games come out on the Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
Most recently, GoldenEye. We've seen it with Ori and the Will of the Wisps and other games.
There's history. Yeah. I think they're looking at the broad picture, which everybody wants to say, oh no, they're gonna, in the terms of the regulators, foreclose all of this stuff. That's not what Xbox is looking. That's not what Microsoft is looking to do. Again, they're looking to host everything on the Azure servers. That includes everybody. Eventually, they're in a war with Amazon, right? And they want to open up avenues where more people start hosting gaming, movies, all of it on Azure servers. Yeah. Xbox is a vehicle to that. And then they are serious about opening up gaming and going more cross-platform. Again, I still think exclusives are important to create an identity for your brand, but Microsoft isn't looking necessarily just at 5-10 years. People forget they're looking at 20 years down the road. They're looking at 30 years down the road and where this industry is going to be. And they are and want to be the leaders in that movement down the road, which, sure, you can say everybody becomes a third-party publisher at that point, but they want to host all of that content. That's their main goal, in my opinion. So this just lends to that theory that's what they're moving towards. But I think right now, in the near future, right now, as we speak with this acquisition, that's why they're open to doing all this stuff. They're not going to give up everything. Brad Smith confirmed we're not going to divest ourselves of Call of Duty. That just doesn't make sense. Of course not.
That was a ridiculous suggestion, honestly.
Yes, honestly, it really was. But I think that they are open to a lot of things that a lot of people never thought they would hear Microsoft say. I think they're open to it because whether it happens now or it happens 10, 15 years from now, to Microsoft doesn't matter. So let's start this ball rolling. If this is what it takes to get this acquisition through, fine. Let's start doing this stuff. Let's start extending our hand out to everybody and saying we're willing to work with you.
Besides that, I don't think that Call of Duty matters in the internal discussion as much as it does for us in the hardcore console gaming space. It just doesn't. When they discuss the deal internally, I think they more look at the opportunities that they will get in the mobile segment. They have always been like a software company on PC. How can they cement that? How can they further improve that? Because they lost the war in the storefront things on PC. That's over. That's Steam and that's maybe Epic and that's about it. So
but they got a chance at mobile. They got a chance at mobile. They're going to war with Google and Apple.
Absolutely. Yep. And that's what you can tell. Why? Because like Google is now outside of Sony, of course, like literally the only one arguing against that deal. And adding up on that, Jonas the Dad sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, man, for the support. He says, feels like King Phil is playing PlayStation for the fool. And it, kind kind of feels like it because it was absolutely no coincidence that they announced the GeForce Now thing and, of course, Nintendo exactly
They're trying
that
to
day.
isolate Sony. They're trying to put Sony on an island by themselves and say, look, everybody else is in. Where are you? Come on over. Let's get this deal done. You know it's inevitable. Let's do this, right?
Yeah.
You're not our main focus, Sony. We will continue to work with you. We've got bigger fish we're going to go fry.
Yeah.
Namely, Google and Apple. Let's get this done and let's move forward. Let's be done with this thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
10 cents behind it, for God's sake.
Come on, that does mean something, man. That does mean something. Yeah, no. The thing is, see, I've seen this on Twitter today a lot. The question really is, if this deal gets approved and Sony hasn't signed a deal, what will happen? What will happen? How will Microsoft act here? Now, they have offered them the 10-year deal. We know that. Maybe even a little bit more now. We don't know what else. But if the regulators will approve, and so far, at least in the EU, it does look very much in favor of them. They could play, like Jonas that said, feel like the fools now if they haven't signed it, because after the deal gets approved, Dutch, what do you think Microsoft will do if Sony hasn't signed a deal?
I mean, I don't, you know what it is? It's, I feel either way, I think Sony are burning bridges currently. Activision really don't like the way Sony are going on.
Yeah.
Like, and does Sony think that this is going to bend? Like, they're like, oh, we don't want to lose Call of Duty. Do you think this is really going to do you any favors with any negotiations for Call of Duty going forward?
Yeah.
Do you think Call of Duty needs your exclusivity money? No, definitely not. They don't need that money at all. They make a lot of money on Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Like a lot of money. They don't need that exclusivity. They could quite easily make a slightly cheaper deal with Xbox or Nintendo or PC for exclusivity agreements.
They got an ex-girlfriend with more money who's showing back up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
exactly. So I don't think they've kind of looked at the actual long-term approach of their strategy, which is trying to kind of undermine everything. From Microsoft's standpoint, I think they'll play I think Microsoft will still play the bigger person routine, and they'll be like, no, like everyone's still treated fairly, etc., etc., etc. I think if it didn't go through, I think that's when Sony is going to have severe issues. And if people think that Bobby Kotick and the Activision guys aren't going to be really pissed at Sony for the way they've acted, I mean, you've done them out of a lot of money.
Millions of dollars.
Yeah, yeah. I think, what was this? They have to pay like $4 billion if the deal failed, or 3, or was it 3? Yeah, and that does not include, of course, the lawyer costs. Those come on top, and you know that those are billions by now. So, Dutch, let me briefly interrupt you. Tom from Toonami sends in. I love that super chat, man. He says, NVIDIA accepting the deal was literally Russ Bolton stabbing Rob at the Red Wedding, but instead NVIDIA said Microsoft sends their regards. Yeah, man. At this, again, I was so surprised about this. I did not see that coming. I would have seen a Steam deal, coming, signing with Epic, something, I don't know, these kind of things. But GeForce, that was like, and the thing is, it's not just about Call of Duty. That message alone. So, hey, we are even willing to give all Xbox PC games over there.
And it's effective immediate. That's the difference. Like, that contract was immediate.
Doesn't matter. That's like the message. The message to the regulators. We don't care if you approve. We're doing these things anyway. That's
exactly how it came across. And the NVIDIA one was the one that I thought caught everybody off guard but it was also very tactical because NVIDIA, one of those that had an initial issue with the cloud aspect of the deal and how that was going to affect kind of their streaming strategies going forward. And Microsoft has just came out and just went, well, then take all of our games. You can put them on the cloud. We don't care. And it benefits both of them. Nvidia get higher subs because the only way you can play those games on Nvidia GeForce now is by owning the games anyway, which means then Microsoft.
That's the difference, right? That's the difference with what a lot of people don't know. I've seen that a lot of on Twitter. Maybe we just explain that real quick. The difference in between GeForce Now and all the other streaming services that we know, like Stadia, rest in peace, or Amazon's Luna, and even Game Pass or xCloud. You have to sign. You have to buy like a subscription, and then you get like the games. With GeForce Now, it's different. You still have to own your game, and basically what you get is literally just the hardware that you can run it on. So it's different there, yeah.
Yeah, it's the ability. It's literally the ability to stream whatever games you own that are supported by GeForce Now. Is what GeForce Now is. So if you own this catalog on your PC, you're able to stream it wherever you want to stream it as a PC. And it's not even just your basic. It's like at the minute it's a 3090, which is a top tier one, but they're upgrading that top tier one to 4090s when they can. So you're going to get the best PC streaming experience on Nvidia, which is absolutely awesome. But it means that, and this deal specifically means that Microsoft will still make money because any games that are purchased that people want to play on GeForce Now, they're getting the money for. But likewise, then GeForce also get money because people that want to play on the highest settings possible will subscribe to the top tier version of GeForce Now just to play those games. So it's a win-win for both of them on that front. And again, from a tactical perspective, you're muted, by the way.
That's why you're not reacting to what I've been saying, man.
From a tactical perspective, it lays one of the companies that have the cloud issues in this deal, and that's why I think the regulators in the EU are looking more positively on this. And again, as we've mentioned, they're not there to protect a singular business. So the more dominoes they knock down of businesses that have issues outside of Sony, and then Sony left being the only one with an issue, the less regulators are going to block it. Because they're just at the end of the day, they're just going to go, listen, like everybody else has been laid by contracts. Like everybody else has got something in place that they're happy with.
Yeah.
The market in itself is generally happy with this. Just you. So is it the market's issue or is it your issue? Yeah. And that's the way regulators will look at it.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. And we've seen some logic.
I think people are right. I think the UK is going to be the sticking point.
Yeah.
But I think the FTC and the EU ultimately will go through fine.
Yeah. And I wanted to bring real quick too back to Dutch's initial point too, which is something I've been talking about as far as what Sony's done to the relationships. It's not just Activision Blizzard. And from my standpoint, I'm not saying that people are going to stop doing deals with Sony at the end of the day, whether this goes through or doesn't go through. But what Sony has done is bring the spotlight to this industry from the regulators that was not there before. It flew way under the radar compared to other industries, to the point where we saw these regulators had no clue what this industry was about, what actually happened. Sony's opened Pandora's box by being so loud. This deal was always going to get scrutinized. Don't get me wrong. It's a $70 billion deal. They were going to look at this deal. Yeah. But because Sony has screamed so loud and said some incredibly very untruthful things about the industry, and Microsoft, of course, in response has been like, we'll show you. We're going to educate you guys on exactly how this industry works. Now, when this deal's all said and done, these regulators around the world are going to really start going, wait a minute, Sony, we saw some things in that paperwork. Come on back here. We got to talk about this. How is this good for consumers? And that's not just Sony. It's going to affect the 2Ks. It's going to affect the EAs. It's going to affect Tencent when they do their deals. That's why Tencent's like, we're cool. Go get this deal. We're fine. Let them get their deal done.
Yeah.
Sony, shut up already. Would you please? Because now this industry is going to be under a lot more pressure from regulators whenever deals go through, and they might start looking at actual business practices like timed exclusivity and how that might not be good for the consumers. So they've opened up a can of worms here that they might see repercussions down the road, and I think some companies are going to remember this. So.
Yeah, and it's not just the regulators knowing and understanding now the industry. Like you said, I fully agree there. But I also feel like whatever working relationship, of course, with Microsoft was there, is now it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. Even if the deal goes not through, we talked about this. Like a Lulu, can you imagine Lulu now sitting on the table at Sony, and she's like the head of the legal department? That's at least how I understand her role. Yeah. So, and they are hammering out the next Call of Duty deal, like that negotiation, dude. And even other third-party publishers will look at this and say, okay, that's the behavior of a Sony. That's the behavior of our partner that we want to sign a deal with. The industry will look at Sony differently after this, after all this spotlight. That's why usually, and that is what's so different with this ABK deal. That's why usually these companies do not want to have those conversations in public.
No.
Yeah, they all act like that behind the door. Microsoft does it as well, of course, if they were in the position to do so. But this time it's public, and everyone knows about it. And I feel like they probably burned one or two bridges along the way, because at the end of the day, at the very end of behind every deal is a human. 2, 3, I don't know, 10, 20 humans making an agreement, bringing things to work, and at the end of the day, you always want to have a good relationship with the people you work with. So, yeah, Sony did not look good. What do we say about the Nintendo thing? Did that come as a surprise to you guys?
No,
Dutch?
not at all.
Not at all.
I think it did for Nintendo, but it did nobody else.
Yeah.
Like Nintendo were like, all right, yeah, sweet. We'll have Call of Duty, please. If you don't mind, that'd be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it was a gift for them. It was like gift wrapping something to them, and essentially, especially after the backhand from regulators that kind of said, "You're not a console game.
Yeah.
You don't do console games. You're a fitness app.
you don't even belong in that."
Sorry,
we're a fitness app.
You're not a fitness app. You're not even part of the console market. So.
No.
Oh,
You've got one of the highest selling consoles of all time, but you're not a console.
You're not part of the console market. So, where does the Switch sit now? I think at 120 million units around.
Yeah, it'll be 120 something, close to 130 at this point.
Yeah, at this point. So,
third all time.
It's a couple of million a month that they're doing right now.
Crazy. I mean, don't get me wrong. I really like the concept of the Switch. I think it's a fantastic console. The concept itself.
It's not a console.
It's not a console. It's a handheld, man. It's a handheld.
A mobile phone.
Then what is it? Like just a fitness app like that? Anyway. But of course, everyone knows the hardware is out of date. But
it was out of date when it came out.
It was out of date when it came out. Indeed, it was. But on the other side, I'm still having a blast playing it. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to Metroid. I play like tons of Mario Kart with my kids. I love the console. The console is fantastic. It used to be probably my most played gaming device. I have all the consoles and I have a PC, but before the pandemic, I traveled a lot for work. And so I always had my Switch with me. It was like literally my most played gaming device during a certain time. So, no, I do love it. But yeah, now Call of Duty is coming and I've seen a discussion. Oh, can it actually run Call of Duty? So, what do you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, it can. It's not going to be the same. Obviously, everyone just assumes that okay, well, it's not going to run Call of Duty because look at how Call of Duty looks on these consoles. But it's not going to be that version. Like
No.
If people stop assuming it's going to look like it is on console, of course, if it looked exactly like it did on consoles, like the Series X and the PlayStation 5, then it isn't running. It's going to be like 1 frame a second.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be that version. It's going to have its own version, its own SKU. It's going to be the Nintendo Switch version of the game. It's going to be paid down, but it's definitely going to run fine. It's going to be 60 frames. We've seen that with Fortnite running on the console. Fortnite's running cross-platform as well on the console, and that runs absolutely fine. That's still 60 frames. So yes, you're going to get a paid-down version of Call of Duty, but you're ultimately getting it for the first time in a long time. And I think it's going to be a huge market for them.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I agree. I did see Nintendo fans, which is funny because I do swim in the Nintendo circles. I do follow Nintendo fans just to see what they think about certain topics. And when this popped up, like the hardcore side, they're just as bad as anybody else's when it comes to Xbox or PlayStation or anywhere else, because they were out here like, oh, yeah, this is what Nintendo fans were asking for was Call of Duty. Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted, being all dismissive of this deal, acting like they're the only ones who play the Switch, or people like them are the only ones who play the Switch. I'm like, there's over 120 million people with Switches. There's all types of gamers. Of course, there's going to be a big segment of Switch owners who will play Call of Duty, even if it is, like Dutch said, a pared down version of Call of Duty, a watered down version, maybe a little bit upgrade from the mobile version that's out. Who cares? There's still going to be millions of people who hop into Call of Duty, which is more money to whoever owns Call of Duty at the end of the day. That's all that matters. It expands the market even more. They'll get Warzone up and running on it somehow, some way. It will all be there. And then when Nintendo finally does announce their new hardware in the next year or two, listen, they're going to be right at the front saying, we're ready. We'll have a version for you guys. It's going to launch. It'll be great. And that's exactly what's going to happen. It's just more people playing. Who cares?
You know what? The other day I talked to my neighbor's son. He is 10 years old now.
Yeah.
And he always he talked to me because he always wants to come to us and play on the PlayStation. He doesn't have a PlayStation. He just has the Nintendo Switch. And he's now at this age where, like, the Switch is still fun for him, but the thing he wants is the PlayStation. Nobody talks about Xbox in Germany, so I always try to convince him he needs an Xbox, but he doesn't want to be like the only guy. I was reminded of my youth, when I was the only kid at school that had a Sega.
Yeah.
No one. To this day, I don't know anybody who had a Sega. Yeah,
that's insane.
I only knew one person with a Dreamcast. I only knew my best friend was the only person I knew out of everybody with a Dreamcast.
For how big Sega was, that's insane.
Like, I was at the time we're talking about the Mega Drive. It was like, I was and it was like, when I had friends over at home, everyone was like, "Wow, what's that? Oh, cool! It's cool, but I don't care. I want Nintendo, and of course then the PlayStation was the thing. And the same is with Xbox. They are just, since they are just not marketing anything here, it's like, so the kids in school, they want a PlayStation. So he always comes over, and I talk to him about this because, of course, he's like playing a lot of Fortnite. That's the thing, of course. And he was like, "Oh, when I get to play the Call of Duty on the Switch, why would I need a PlayStation?" That was like he was like, "Oh, then I can't play that." He literally wanted to have like the PlayStation for Call of Duty. Even though you're not allowed to play Call of Duty before you're 16 here in Germany. But anyway, that's like, so I think it's gonna be massive, man. Especially for those kind of ages, like I say, in between 10 and 15-year-old Switch gamers, and a lot of these gamers have the Switch. It's just,
Even if you're talking about 10% of the user base, like 10% of the user base is still like 12. Was that 12 million?
12
That's
million,
massive.
13 million.
Yeah.
Huge.
Huge. That's like a significant boost, man. A significant boost in the player numbers.
Yep.
It's massive.
But we
Just,
know
it'll be
we
full
know.
price. It'll be $70 now.
Yeah,
Mm.
I was going to say, but we also know
Yep.
based on the Nintendo trends that games just the minimum games really sell is the 10 million mark. The minimum games sell, especially AAA games.
Right.
You're talking on average, it's anywhere between 15 and 20 million. And this being Call of Duty will easily do 20 million on Nintendo Switch out of the 120 million. Like their first party games are all like in some cases 2-1.
Right.
Like the likes of Mario Kart, etc., are almost pretty much. I think it's 70-30 on how many people own Mario Kart as have
Yeah.
a Switch, which is insane. Like the install base is just wild. It's one of the weirdest consoles of the entire. That's why that's possibly a reason. If I was a regulator, I'd be like, how can we include Switch in this conversation because they are a complete phenomenon. Like they do things that none of the other consoles, regardless of power, do in terms of their actual like buy-in.
Attach rate.
The attach rate is just unheard of on any platform. It's phenomenal. And that goes for third party. Like third parties don't sell anywhere near as much as any other platform and compare it to the attach rates. But yeah, you'd be wild to think that Call of Duty wouldn't be an uber success on that platform. And Xbox and Activision know that as well. And I don't know why they haven't done this up to now. I think only Activision would know that question. But for Microsoft to kind of force Activision's hand and say, listen, we're going to bring it to Nintendo, whether or not that's difficult to do or not, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's awesome for Nintendo fans, so happy for them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be awesome for Call of Duty fans in general, because like having a bigger install base simply will behoove the franchise and IP. And I think, and I've said this before, Dutch, you remember that probably, I think what Microsoft will or is going to do with Call of Duty is that they make it into an ongoing live service game, and they step away from the yearly releases. They will bring out like every 3 years or so, I don't know, a campaign, like to get new biomes in there or get like new, futuristic setting or I don't know, postmodern setting or whatever, different settings in there, and have a lore and hopefully a little bit better campaign. But they eventually will move it over to an ongoing live service game, and then they have like the DLC pack dropping every year, which is like a big map pack or something. So it will be like something like that, a mixture in between Fortnite and what they have today. But I think it's really the Fortnite formula that Microsoft is looking at and trying to think about what can we do to get Call of Duty to become our Fortnite, that game that is available on like every device, that has crossplay across almost all devices. That's what they want to do. So yeah, it only makes sense to bring it to the Switch, and you kind of have to wonder why they haven't done it. Why ABK hasn't done it. The question is now when will be the first Call of Duty? We all assume the deal will go through this year. So is it gonna be this year? Is it gonna be next year? Is it when is it? What do you guys think?
I think the first Call of Duty on Switch will be next year.
Yeah.
It's definitely not going to be this year.
Yeah. It won't be this year's. It'd be too.
I think even next year might be pushing it.
Yeah, it would be,
on how
depending
difficult it is.
Depending on unless they've mocked up or worked on the Switch version at some point, so they kind of have like the basis down for it and just never fully produced it. Yeah, next year might even be pushing it, but I think if the deal goes through, I think that Xbox and Activision would do everything possible to push that out and get it out to them. So it'd be interesting. Like I said, an updated version of the mobile version, maybe, might be possible that quick. It'd be interesting though, Dutch, to watch, to see how they do that.
Most certainly.
Yeah.
So bringing it back to the ABK discussion, now we've had the hearing. We have not really an idea when we will get a final decision from the EU, whether there will be another hearing. What do you guys feel? Where are we now in the confidence level? Will it get Pass? When will we hear the next bigger update outside of Lulu putting some weirdos into place?
I think we'll hear the UK first. People kind of, with everything that was going on with the EU, had kind of missed the point that the UK's cut-off point for remedies from Microsoft was the 22nd, which was also yesterday. So Microsoft's cut-off point for the EU to submit their remedies and things like that was yesterday. So the UK, I think, will be the first to come back with the decision now based on those remedies. And those remedy offerings, and obviously they'll have discussions first. But we'll probably see that more akin to maybe the tail end of March, beginning of April, when we see something back from the UK. And then I think it's a toss up between whether or not the FTC or the EU have that second one. But I think FTC will be doing all in their might to try and get this done first, because I think they want to have the bragging rights to say we managed to get the remedies in first or something like that. I think the FTC are just that much inclined, at least with Lena Khan involved anyway. She wants to be able to claim some form of victory.
Yeah. Could be.
CMA, I think it came out today. CMA is having hearings next week, I want to say, where people are going to speak there as well. But I think you're right in line, Dutch. I think we'll have both the EC and the CMA by April. FTC, I'm not as confident they take a deal. I think they're going to wait until EC and CMA rule because that'll determine a lot. If they both do approve it, FTC is going to know that Microsoft is going to turn around and offer them the same concessions one time and give them one opportunity to cut the deal. And if they don't, they know that the Microsoft's going to close over the top of the FTC and force the FTC to take it to federal court because, as I've been saying, those Microsoft attorneys are licking their chops to get this in front of a federal judge because there is no chance they're going to win in front of a federal judge. And if Lena wants to go there, Microsoft will be willing to take it there. So I think they close over the top of the FTC. But I think that if the EC and the CMA do both approve it, or at least are leaning in that, and maybe one comes out and the kind of the word behind the scenes is the other one's leaning as well, then I think the FTC would behoove them, as you said, Dutch, to get a deal done so that they can join in the celebration of all three regulatory bodies saying, oh, we put the pressure on Microsoft. Look at all the stuff we got out of them. It would definitely be in their interest to do that. But again, Lena's a different beast. She doesn't care about losing. So I don't know if that's going to be the deal breaker, but I think by April at the latest, we will have a real good idea of where this is going and have a clear indicator of whether or not this is going to get passed. Because again, if the EC and CMA both pass, there's no way the FTC is going to win, no matter what they do. So Microsoft will just close over the top and be like, yeah, come on, let's go to court. We're doing this. It's done deal. So I think
Microsoft have already said as well, as long as the EU and the CMA say yes, it's closed.
It's closed.
Yep. They'll do it because they know federal courts ain't gonna hold this up. My God.
Yeah.
Not when the two largest markets in the rest of the world agree it.
Yeah.
Like they know at that point going to court in the US, the federal judges will be like, what you doing?
The way our laws are written and what Lena's trying to push, they ain't gonna happen.
Yeah. I fully agree there. No, you broke it down perfectly. Dutch, do you have any different views, or should we just move on to the next topic, man?
No, I think thank God, and I think this, where it is. We all had our doubts initially as to when Microsoft said like our aims are to get this done by the middle of next year. And sign, seal, delivers. We all had our doubts based on kind of some of the earlier feedback we had, and it kind of got ridiculous at one point from the FTC and things, and all this kind of verbal battering going on social media. But beyond that, it looks like it's going to fall within their timescale. It looks like it's going to actually get done within the timescale that they assumed it would get done. So, great, thank God, and then we can all merrily move on and get on with our lives.
Indeed we can. No, good stuff there. And that was a good discussion, guys. So I want to briefly address one topic before we move to the community questions of the week, in just I think in about an hour or so, we will get the PlayStation State of Play. What?
Take 10 minutes.
It's starting at 3.
It's
Okay.
okay.
7 minutes to be precise. Yeah.
So there you go. I did not want to like speculate what will be shown or something. So we are still good. I wanted to bring up something because we know that then in like 6 minutes we will see Suicide Squad. And Suicide Squad, of course, being shown at the big PlayStation State of Play means they will have the advertising rights. That will probably mean we have a parity clause. Let's
Special
see how
missions.
like exclusive content, whatever.
Like Hogwarts. Yeah.
Like we've seen with Hogwarts and many others. Now, my question really is, guys, Microsoft is missing in their portfolio like this big pop culture IP, and that you know my stance on this. I've been saying this for so long, but I wanted to bring it up today, real quick. Why is it that Microsoft does not seem to care to get these pop culture IPs? Yeah, we've seen Sony getting, of course, Spider-Man, games like Hogwarts, games like now Suicide Squad. Even though if they are not exclusive, they're gonna market them as if they were exclusive. And when we look at Microsoft, we've been saying it for so long. They need, I don't know, a Star Wars Mandalorian game. They need an Iron Man game that you have been saying that. Iron Man, like this iconic pop culture IP brand, a superhero thing, something like a Hogwarts, something like a Star Wars. So yet another game goes to Sony. What do you guys think? Why is Microsoft not going after those IPs?
It's weird, what's weird about it is that they'll do loads of these competitions with Marvel for like a Black Panther Wakanda Xbox Series X and a Captain America Xbox Series X giveaway and all of these weird and wonderful like consoles to celebrate the release of these films, but will not speak to them and say, listen, we do all these things, but we've never actually got a game that's Marvel related on our platform. Can we create one of the IPs? They've never had those discussions. Like the furthest they've went with a popular IP in Disney portfolio is Sea of Thieves crossover with Pirates of the Caribbean. That's kind of the most they've done in recent memory. Aside from that, the only other rumored is a potential Activision working on the Deadpool game, which is again just a rumor. Could it be that and again, this is another thing, like it's not even the case that they're going after the anti-heroes, because I think anti-hero games would be good as a contrast to having the superhero. When we're talking about anti-heroes, we're talking about the likes of Suicide Squad, we're talking about the likes of Deadpool, we're talking about the likes of Punisher and things like that. Like these are kind of like they are heroes, but they're kind of from the opposite side. They're not ones that abide by law. They kind of do things on their own realms. Whereas your superheroes, traditional Wolverine and Spider-Man and things, are always people that kind of abide by the law and do things as part of an outfit or a super team or something like that. As opposed to like a rabble gang like the Suicide Squad, who are kind of forced to work together. They get their heads blown off. Like it's just so weird that Microsoft haven't approached for any of these, and we know as far back as originally when Spider-Man was offered to them that they turned it down. And that was years and years ago, of course. That was, I think, maybe even 360 or beginning of Xbox One era when they said no to Spider-Man, which was even more bewildering. So I don't know. And then is it maybe to do with the age of the hierarchy at Xbox, where the decision making is a case of, oh, we'll work on Indiana Jones and we'll work on like maybe there's another Star Wars title and things like that, where as much as they're great for our age range, when you're talking about the young generation, the ones that you're actually needing to kind of get a hold of and get into your console and get them wanting your console, like a Spider-Man or a Suicide Squad or a Wolverine, which are still very relevant today, as akin to Indiana Jones, which was relevant when we were kids, was relevant for us.
That's a fact.
It's not relevant to none of the kids these days care about Indiana Jones. So when that drops, it's a case of they just look at that as is this just an Uncharted clone? Well, no, Indiana Jones was technically the original Uncharted. That was the original. It was before Tomb Raider even. That was the original kind of treasure seeker film. But they'll not know and they don't care. So I think I don't know whether or not it's down to maybe hierarchy, just thinking, okay, what pop culture things, and then what comes to mind for them is what they would class as a pop culture IP from their youth, not what is popular now. And what's popular now is the determining factor here, and that's what they need. And it's not something for me because I'm not the biggest superhero fan, but I always agree that it's something that they need in their portfolio. Absolutely. I would like if you have even look at the last Deadpool games that were in there, like the Deadpool games that released more recently, aren't great. And if somebody were to take on that as a proper R-rated 18 plus title and really go for a brutal Deadpool, that would be a phenomenal game to play. It would be hilarious. And you would go all out. You would get, in my opinion, you would get Ryan Reynolds on board to do the voice acting for Deadpool there. I don't think you would have an issue with doing that because he loves Deadpool. There's a reason he's got a third film lined up. Like, he was the one that leaked the original film. He wanted to work on it. So you would go all out to make that happen. Get the original voice actor in for Deadpool and let him have fun with the lines and roles and things like that. There's so many opportunities. And again, when you have a look at Iron Man, you go all out for the actors. And this is one thing that Sony does when they get actors on board for all of their major roles, whether it be, again, Troy Baker, which is in everything these days. But then you have a look at the likes of Christopher Judge for Kratos, which is just supremely on-point role. And look at what he's doing now. And you look at all the actors they've got involved with the likes of Metal Gear and Silent Hill and Death Stranding. Like, they go for pretty much A-list, if not B-list celebrities who are very, very competent at acting to get these roles done. And if you were doing a big AAA game for one of these major IPs, like an Iron Man or a Deadpool, etc., you would want, in my opinion, for not only the purposes of the game's quality, but also in terms of a marketing appeal, to get the likes of Robert Downey Jr. to do the voice acting for Iron Man, or to get Ryan Reynolds in to do that, and then use that as a marketing tool. You would absolutely do that. It would be phenomenal for them. And I don't understand. But then again, this always comes down to Xbox's marketing strategy and their poor marketing techniques. And not working on a superhero or anti-hero game is one of the greatest downfalls of the last the last two generations. I don't know why they resist it so much. I really don't.
Phil Spencer said a couple of years ago, he does not like the idea not having control of over the IPs. So when he has, I don't know, he goes out and gets an Iron Man game, he doesn't have the saying about where the IP is going, and he doesn't want to invest in that, and they don't want to have that. That's the reason we officially know. But yeah, I agree with you. I think just when you look at these numbers that Microsoft presented at the EU hearing, and you look at the market share of 80 to 20%, Microsoft has all the tools literally at their hand without that deal to change those numbers. They have had that for decades now. And they literally intentionally chose not to change those numbers. All you would have to do is get better at marketing, like you said, Dutch. Just if you don't let people know that your brand exists, and we're really talking about that kind of level, you're not gonna sell units. It's like a basic understanding. I don't have to have a business or marketing degree to get that. So that's the one thing, and then of course, they have had the big Xbox has no games issue for many years now. But the problem really is that they don't have, outside of the chief, any recognizable characters on a grander scale. And to have like a Spider-Man, like Sony does, on the box, it just helps to sell units. Yeah, everyone automatically realizes, oh, this is where I can play Spider-Man. That's cool. And the Xbox, and if you have like Mandalorian, Star Wars basically on the box, or if you have like I don't know, an Iron Man printed on the box, everyone is gonna recognize that brand recognition thing that comes in with pop culture IPs is just something that sells you units at the end. And yeah, so that was one thing that I definitely thought when I saw those numbers that they presented. I said, like, literally a lot of those 80 to 20 market share here in Europe, you chose to have that intentionally. I can't explain it any other way. Pong, what do you make of this?
Well, I mean, it goes back again, like you said, Box, to Phil's statements. They don't like to work on things that they don't own. They don't like the idea of licensing IP, but that's very restrictive in my eyes. I understand, like, you tried it with Tomb Raider at one point and you got blasted for it, but you can't let that affect you. Like, you have to understand, and I'm sure Phil does. Again, these people in all these positions of power are not stupid. There's no way they can sit by and look over at Sony and not understand how powerful it is to have Spider-Man. They can excuse it and say, well, with the movies and Sony owning that, it's a little bit different. But then you watch Sony go out and get Wolverine. Well, they don't got nothing to do with Wolverine. Okay, so they're making a Wolverine game. Now, I think some of it, last gen especially, has to go with the fact that they simply didn't have studios to work on it, right? It's great to get offered something like Spider-Man, but you're looking around at 4 studios and going, yeah, well, we don't have anybody that can do this. But I do think you have to shift that mentality now that you're here, right? And you look at something like what DC is now doing. They went out and got James Gunn. Whatever you think of James Gunn, I personally don't like the guy personally, but whatever. The dude knows what he's doing with movies. Okay, that's obvious. He's going to try to change the fortunes of DC, right? And make it more like the MCU. Yes, you still have WB. They still have their own studios. They're still going to make their games. We know Wonder Woman and stuff is coming. But there's got to be other characters that they're just not going to have an opportunity to touch. Why aren't you got to make that phone call? And now that, you've got somebody like James Gunn that's in charge over there of DC and will have a plan, whether it works out or not, you have a perfect opportunity to now hop in this game with something that might turn out to be as big as the MCU, or at least be a shadow version of the MCU at some point, where the popularity of those DC characters are going through the roof, some outside of your Batman, etc. All of a sudden, you got to take advantage of that. Now that you have all these studios, now that you're making all these acquisitions, now you got room to take on those IP. And I think that you do have to change that mindset, because whether or not you agree with it, pop culture is pop culture, and it is a big deal. Like you and Dutch both touched on, it is one of those important parts of marketing. Like an exclusive, it creates an identity for your brand. When people think of Spider-Man, sure, they think of the movies, but they also think of Sony next, right? PlayStation, because that's where you go play Spider-Man. The same thing is going to happen with Wolverine. And let me tell you something. If you don't want to hop on the DC train, that's fine. There's still room at the MCU, because they're about to introduce mutants. Well, they actually already have. And again, I'm not a big guy. I was a huge X-Men fan. X-Men is coming, folks. And when these mutants hit, MCU's been kind of down a little bit. People have been kind of complaining. If they do the mutant story right and they bring in X-Men and Xbox writes itself. You don't have to have geniuses in marketing.
I love that, man.
You don't have to have anything special outside of Xbox, X-Men. Everybody will relate the two. All they gotta do is sign the deal and get a studio to make a couple games from the X-Men, and you could take the X-Men in a lot of different directions. You don't have to do the whole team. And I understand that Sony's got Wolverine. It's a different style Wolverine than the X-Men Wolverine. That's fine. If you don't want to do that, stay away from him. That's fine. You got a huge team of other mutants that you can take full advantage of and create something special that is then known to be an Xbox game and an Xbox IP where people go, hey, I just watched this movie. Man, the X-Men are looking great. They just introduced them. I want to go play whatever game it is over here on Xbox. And they will know that's where they got to go get it. You got to take advantage of the moment, right? And it's not too late. And I think that Bethesda will help show them the way, because obviously Bethesda was not against it. They signed the Indiana Jones deal prior to the acquisition. There's rumors also that there's either a Star Wars game or an MCU game, possibly with ZeniMax Online or one of the other studios. We'll find out hopefully sooner than later. I think that opens up the avenue to Phil, even if he's against it in his heart, to say, we've got to do this from a business standpoint. This is going to be good for Xbox if we go do this. There's a lot of different advantages to going out and getting a pop culture or to kind of iconic character to bring on board with your brand. And I think that Xbox needs to exploit that. Now that they're going this whole new direction, this is the new Xbox. We're doing all this other stuff. Embrace it and bring one of those characters in somewhere.
100%, man. Absolutely. You nailed it, man. Let me briefly catch up on the super chats before I want to touch on two things you said. Dave Ramos sends in $2. He says, "Hey yo, just checking in to say great show." Chance.
I'll be right back, Box.
Yeah, all right. Dave, great to see you, man. Great to see you. Glad you made it. And then we have Jonas the Dad sending in $2, and he says, and I think you would agree there. Chia, how do you pronounce it in English? Chia?
It's just chai.
Chai?
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, because that's how we pronounce it. The German version also pronounced it. So I was, okay. So chai.
Yeah.
Because so it's a typo. I think it's a typo.
But I absolutely agree. Agree with him.
So he says, chai and 808 need to be all over Xbox ads. I fully agree. I said this last... or 2 weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, when we talked about Hi-Fi Rush intensively, like, there's a good chance they could use that character, Chai or 808 or both of them, as a union, as kind of one of the mascots for Xbox. Because so far, Xbox has had only like the chief as the mascot of the brand. But I think that they will try to diversify their mascots, that they will have multiple of them. Like I feel Senua's gonna become one of those. Chai absolutely has the chance, the potential to become like a mascot. Dutch, what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said this when it launched, and when everybody played it and loved it, and I mean, it's sitting on Steam now with like 10,000 like ultra positive reviews, like sitting there just on Steam alone, and it is phenomenal. What a great, smooth, highly polished title will do for you.
Yeah.
And it absolutely needs to be one of the poster boys of Xbox. I completely agree.
Yeah. Pong, what do you think? What will be the mascots in, like, I don't know, let's say 3 years or so from Xbox?
Well, I definitely think Chai and 808 could lead that charge, right? I think I said from the beginning, I don't even think you work on DLC. I just think you move on to number 2 immediately. I think if John Johannes and his team have an idea for it, you move forward with it. You capitalize on the sensation that is Hi-Fi Rush right now, and you turn around and come back with it in a couple years. So I definitely think they could be. I think we've got some big games coming up here. I don't know. I'm trying to think character-wise who could come out of this.
So Senua and maybe
Senua
Joanna.
For sure.
Joanna Dark.
Joanna Dark, if it comes back. Obviously,
let's see if they have
out of Fable.
Fable.
Yeah.
I have had that. I don't know whether it was with you or with Boom or with someone. I had the discussion whether Fable will have customized characters or not.
Yeah.
So the previous,
there might be an NPC in there that takes over, right? There could be something that they create that's memorable, right? It doesn't always have to be the main character. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer because we don't have a whole lot of information on these other games that are sitting out there, right? We're in the dark about Compulsion. We're in the dark about all these, In Exile's next game and all that kind of stuff. But you're right. right now, as far as like character-driven games, Xbox doesn't have like an outstanding lineup of them. Could Gears come back and be that? Do we know if the Coalition's going to go beyond Gears 6? We know they brought back, what's his name? God, I just lost it. Gears 2 writer to come back. I mean, they had an opportunity. Marcus Phoenix and his team, the Dude Bros, were iconic at one point. They still are. Gears is obviously a huge franchise, but they don't have that. They don't have that marketability like they once did because they moved away from them and went on to the kids, right? So, and none of the kids, to me at least, and I haven't seen, have anywhere near the popularity that Marcus and his team did, right?
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
I think that they've got to work on that. And again, I think it goes back to your original idea that they've got to get on board with this pop icon stuff because it is ultra important. I mean, you look over at Sony, to be fair, you've got Kratos, right? You got Spider-Man, but that's a pop icon. And then outside of that, you know, where do you go next? Nathan Drake, maybe, but they're moving away from Uncharted in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah.
So
same
you know,
with
Ratchet
The Last of
Clank,
Us. They kind of move away from that. Yeah.
Yep, they moved away from that. So again, it's kind of like we don't have a whole lot of those big iconic characters that kind of represent a brand like the Sonics and Marios and Zeldas still do for Nintendo and Sega, right? We just don't have that anymore with Xbox and PlayStation per se. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, but I think they need to. Chai and 808 definitely have a moment in time right now where they could push those big time. 808 is beloved by everybody, so is Chai, but 808 being the animal mascot is like perfect. And you could color 808 in Xbox colors. You could brand 808 in Xbox. Like there's all sorts of different things you can do. 808 definitely has a lot of potential from my standpoint.
Absolutely agree there. I absolutely agree there. So great question there. Great question. Let's move over, by the way, to the questions. The community questions, you know, guys, we do them at the end of every show. You can write in every Wednesday on the posts on Twitter, on Xbox, YouTube, PlayStation, wherever you want, in the Discord server. Shout out to our guys in the Discord server, by the way. So we had a couple of great questions coming in. Bavari90 writes in. He says, "Hey guys, what's your most anticipated non-first party game coming in 23? Stalker 2 for me. Have a great podcast, guys."
Ooh. Well, it's a good one. I mean, as of right now, Diablo is still not first party, so I'll say Diablo. So that's an easy one for me.
It's a great choice. I mean, Diablo is going to take over our lives. So, Dutch, what do you?
Non-first party. Flintlock Siege of Dawn, probably.
Oh, that's a good one. When is that coming out? We don't have a date yet, right?
Don't know yet.
Don't know yet. It's supposed to be first half, though, I think.
It's meant to be the first half.
Still. It was definitely first half. We have a lot of these indie games and smaller games that are supposed to come out in the first half. We don't have a date yet. We have Hollow Knight Silk Song. We have The Last Case of Benedict Fox. All these games are all supposed to come out in the first half, and we don't have the dates yet. And let's be real, the first 2 months are already over. So
Benedict Fox did not just get a date. I thought
it did.
I thought it did get a date. I could be wrong, but when they just showed it off the last one, I thought for sure they had a date on there.
Hang on, I'm gonna Google that real quick.
I think Benedict Fox.
No, it still says.
Still says no. Okay, all right. I could have swore I saw a date. Sorry.
No, you're right. On Steam, it says April 27th.
Okay.
I did miss that. Okay, good.
Yeah, I just checked their Twitter account, and it is April 27th as well. Yes.
Yeah. So it's good that it has a date. It will do terribly bad when it comes out on that date. That's literally where Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Redfall, and Zelda all at once. You're not gonna have a chance as such an indie game, unfortunately. So I do hope I'm wrong though, because the game looks fantastic. Great thing. So, for me, I'm probably with Bavari on Stalker 2. I've always said like my top 3 in January. Everyone posted on Twitter their top 3 most anticipated game, or top 4. I always said my most anticipated games for the year are definitely Starfield, Diablo, Stalker 2, and Spider-Man. Those are my most anticipated games for the year. And, well, since Diablo is by June, hopefully first party, I'm also going to go with Stalker 2. I cannot wait to play that. Looks absolutely phenomenal. So
it does.
Great.
Stalker 2 would be up there
Right.
for me. If we're not counting Diablo, Stalker 2 is definitely in that conversation right there. So
Have you played the originals?
yes.
Yeah.
I played on a buddy's PC back in the day. So I mean, it's not like I had like, hundreds of hours into it or anything like that, but I played through a good portion of it and watched him play a lot of Stalker back in the day over on his PC. That's where I first got to know it. Incredible games back then, like incredible games.
Absolutely.
The decision making, the NPCs, like it was top shelf stuff. We're talking, Bethesda level type decision making in those games, and I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, same here. I think they basically, I could be wrong here, but like the first person shooter that has like these kind of branching story narratives and RPG elements and everything. So yeah, I cannot wait, man. So we
Dutch, are you watching the PlayStation State of Play?
Yes, he does.
Yep.
Was that Baldur's Gate that just got announced for consoles finally?
Yes, yep.
Okay, all right. Let's go. Baldur's Gate coming to consoles in August.
Oh, nice.
That's when it said for PS5. It didn't say console exclusive.
Which one? The third one? Baldur's Gate 3?
One.
The third one.
Yep.
So.
Yep, the third one.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, let's go. All right. Sorry.
Man,
sorry.
next time when a state of play happens during the show, we need to prepare that to simply stream it here. But you never know.
Caught it out of the corner of my eye. You never know.
If you have a look in the private chat, I've been detailing every game that's been announced.
Okay. I don't have that on. So, there you go. Every game that has been announced. Foglands, Green Hell, Synapse, Journey to Foundation, Before Your Eyes, Destiny, Beyond Light, a couple of indie games, Chai, Ghostwire Tokyo, coming to PS Plus.
Does that mean it won't come to Game Pass then? Will be locked out due to the contract?
I think it'll come to Game Pass at the same time, so I should
probably
be an announcement shortly.
Remember those contracts kind of were weird with PlayStation.
Yeah.
They were like 3 months, of PlayStation Plus exclusivity or whatever the hell they were doing. So
yeah. Humanity, Goodbye Volcano High, Naruto, and Baldur's Gate 3 on August 31st. I love that.
That better.
Oh,
exclusive. I didn't see it, but Baldur's Gate.
Jesus, there's another 100 hours gone like this, man. God damn it. Yeah, next time we have to prepare that we can implement the stream here, but you never know with Sony and the copyright thing. So, but then let's do it the next time. So another community question from Dave Ramos, actually. Shout out to you, Dave. With the Forza, by the way, I've seen you now posted on Twitter, so I think I can officially congratulate you for becoming a father. So big congrats to Dave. Absolutely. With the Forza second expansion reveal taking place tomorrow, so actually wrote in, it has me wondering when we may ever see a kart racer from Xbox.
It's a good shout. It's something we've said they could easily do. Especially if they close this game with Activision Blizzard, they've got Toys for Bob on hand. I'd be asking them to create a kart racer that's akin to Crash Team Racing. you've got the IPs. You could easily do Marcus Phoenix in one of their cars. You could do Master Chief in a Warthog. You could do Senua in some kind of random kind of Norse vehicle. There's so many things they could do kind of top to bottom here with mad cars and great characters and IPs. They've got a whole host of them. I think a kart racer would be terrific, be great fun. Like I say, in Crash Team Racing and Mario, to me, Crash Team Racing is better than Mario Kart, but that's my own opinion. I just love Crash Team Racing. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was the way they'd set it out, where it was more kind of a world that you had to explore, and you can go and drive around in this awesome little hub in between kind of races, and you had bosses and things to fight. I thought that was a unique way of doing a kart racer. So yeah, I don't know when we'll see one, but I would definitely want one.
I'd take one too, man. And by now, Xbox has so many memorable characters and IPs where they could borrow from and make, like, you know, not even with cartoony, super stylized graphics, but, you know, like an over-the-top action, like Halo Infinite kind of level graphics, and then put in like Doom Guy, put in the Dragonborn from Skyrim, and Marcus Phoenix, and Joanna Dark and Senua, and all these characters. You could make an awesome racing game. Kart racer. Pong, what do you think?
100%. Why not? Again, when you have this much characters, a brawler game and a kart racer are both possible. Like, there's no reason why not to investigate and look to make one of those games or both of those types of games. A kart racer would be fantastic. And to your point, you could do almost a mixed version of the character. So if some of your IP is more cartoony, keep that style, but then bring in like a Marcus Phoenix who is more realistic and gritty, and make his vehicle more realistic and gritty, and then just have levels from all these different IP that you have this huge mixed variety of everything, have power-ups that relate to all the different IPs in some aspect. Yeah, you've got it. You just got to find the studio and the dev team to do it, right? That's what you got to, that's the big thing. You got a great partnership with Sega. They've got some studios over there who worked on kart racers. Go ask them if they want to do one based on your IP. Why not do it? That's the key, is just finding the right team to make sure that it's done. But with Game Pass and the ability just to drop it in there and say everybody go hog wild, yeah, go get your kart racer done. It's one more diverse game to add to your lineup based upon your brand. Do it. I'm all for it. Let's go.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. All right, guys. I think that wraps the show up. It's been a blast. 2.5 hours can pass really, really quick when you're having great discussions, right? So, Pong, I want to say big thank you for coming by, taking time out of your busy schedule. So, let people know where they can find you and what you've coming up.
Absolutely. I don't want to put Dutch to sleep, so I'll try to cut it down a little bit. But no, this is fantastic.
Everyone, lean back, take the popcorn out. Now we've got the outro.
I'm ready.
We'll see you in 15.
Yeah, brothers. This was absolutely fantastic. Again, I miss both of you. I miss podcasting with both of you.
Absolutely.
It's been far too long since we discussed. Love the conversations. Again, you're two of my favorite people in this community, and thank you so much for having me on here, Box and Dutch, for this fantastic episode. Chat, you guys were amazing. Even though I'm not active in the chats due to my technology limitations here, I still watch, and you guys are having great discussions, and that's another big part of this whole podcasting scene, is having you guys interact. Love it. I love how, obviously Boxenberger brings in the questions from the community, all that stuff. So thank you all for being here and joining us. You can find me on Pong Soul on Xbox, Pong Soul on Twitter, both of those places. Follow me. I'll follow you back. And then tonight, in just a few hours, I'm going to be over on Fun Speculations channel for PM in the PM, where he was crazy enough to give me hosting duties. So every Thursday night, you get this beautiful face talking at you a lot. because I hosted. It's just going to be me and Mav tonight. It's a 2-man show. Sometimes we do have guests, but tonight it'll just be him and I. We had an extra bonus episode earlier this week on the ABK stuff, so we're still going to get down and dirty with it tonight. We got more thoughts as the dust has kind of settled, but lots of stuff going on right now. And obviously this PlayStation show is going to give us more ammo. So be there. Again, Fun Speculations channel, PM to PM, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Then back over on Fun Speculations channel tomorrow night for Xbox Ultimate, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. I will be there at some point, so be there yourself. We go left, right, up, down. We laugh a lot, but we talk a lot of gaming news too, so that's always a good time. Saturday mornings, it's Living Split Screen. Split Screen's all one word. Myself, my brother from another Steel Rain. We go 3+ hours. Normally it's 4. So just buckle up. Maybe get settled in. Get your breakfast. Yeah, go ahead.
You know that the Living Split Screen is my cooking podcast.
Yeah.
I cook. I usually try
to it.
Yeah.
Boom does all of his cleaning to it. So yeah.
So
it works.
Yeah, it works perfectly. And if you guys need the links, just click in the description here of the show. You will find the links to Pong's Twitter, to the YouTube and everything.
Yep.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Living Split Screen is every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. So just be there. We have a great time. Him and I talk. We bring the chat in. Yeah, it's great.
Runs until about midnight. So
yeah. It's awesome. Again, if you got errands to go run those errands. Come back, and we'll still be on. And then I finish up my week on the Shop Podcast Saturday night, PTK Blam's channel, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. PTK Blam, Fuzzy, and myself. And I believe this week we usually have guests. It's Infinite Umbra. We have a great time Saturday night. So be there for the Shop Podcast. Otherwise, folks, as always, got to let you know, it's the golden age of gaming, folks. Best time ever to be a gamer. We just got Baldur's Gate 3 coming to console. Oh
Hell
my
yeah.
God, this year just got crazy. Get out there, play what you love what you play. Have a great rest of your Thursday and Friday, and have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Awesome, man. One thing I want to add to the Living Split Screen thing, whenever I come in and say I usually have my phone like in the kitchen somewhere, and I just type hi to everyone in the chat. Then automatically the question comes up, so what are you cooking this weekend, Box? People already know that. So I love your community over there. No, thanks again, man, for taking the time to come on here. It's been a blast, as always. Like you said, I miss podcasting with you, but hey, that's the thing when we all come out of the pandemic, right? Our work schedules simply changed, some things are not happening anymore. But that's why we have this awesome community where we just come on each other's shows, and we're still in contact. We almost chat every day in our group. So, man, thanks again for coming on. And Dutch, let everyone know where they can find you.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Especially what you've coming up.
Yes. Everybody should know where to find me at this point. Obviously, everywhere at Wandering Dutch. Find me on Tuesdays for Sea of Tuesdays podcast, which is obviously a Sea of Thieves dedicated podcast there. You will see us every Wednesday for the Midweek Mix-Up, every Wednesday evening for Primetime Gaming with Boomstick and Friends, every Thursday, of course, co-hosting with the awesome Boxenberger on World of Gaming. And of course, on the occasional Sunday, we're going to be doing, of course, the weekend edition. Next week's a little bit different, of course, because I'm traveling. I'm going back to my fatherland for a little bit, so back to the Netherlands for a week. So I will not be on Primetime. I will not be on World of Gaming. We're going to pre-record an episode of the Midweek Mix-Up for next Wednesday. So I don't know how many of our guys will be able to do that pre-recording, but we'll ensure we've got a show lined up for you on Wednesday regardless. Other than that, we have this within 2 months now. In April, we'll be doing the first of 2 of our indie showcases for this year. Of course, we've already confirmed that both Pong and Steel will be taking part in that again this year. And of course, Boxenberger, Mr. Boomstick XL, and Keir Santi and Everborn will be taking part. Everborn might be having a game to show off this year, so that'll be awesome as well. But yes, that begins work very shortly. And of course, you will start to see the kind of effects of that and the official date announced soon for the April A of the Indie Showcase. And of course, after that, we'll begin working on the one for August. But 2 awesome indie showcases this year. Looking forward to showcasing that off. See what magic we can create this time around. And yes, other than that, awesome podcast, Boxy, as always. Enjoy being here. Great chat.
Thank you.
Let's go and have some fun gaming.
Indeed. So yeah, man. I'm so looking forward to see the indie showcase again. What you pulled off the last years was simply phenomenal. Seriously, like the best indie showcase out there. It's just games, just how it's supposed to be. None of that quirky Twitch stuff and everything. It was phenomenal, and I know you're doubling down for this year. It's gonna be epic. So yeah, let me thank also everyone who showed up today here live in the chat. Thank you so much for lending us your ears and your time. It's always a blast to chat gaming with you. Also a big shout out, of course, to everyone for the super chats. Super appreciate the support there. And of course, everyone who listens after the fact on the podcast services, on Spotify, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. Shout out to you guys as well. Appreciate you taking the time to listen to us ramble on about gaming. It's a blast, like every week. Dutch, like I said, I'm enjoying it so much. So thanks everyone. So next week Dutch won't be in here. We will still have a World of Gaming, at least half World of Gaming. I'm not gonna host the show alone. We will have Gaming Forte joining us next week. And yeah, other than that, I absolutely want to say again, thank you. Don't forget to game on.